and the man didn't meet it. And so now it's not that they lowered their expectations and compromised. It's more so that they held those expectations. The man didn't meet those expectations. And now they're saying, okay, not time to cut my losses and run.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I'm open to you guys all convincing me that my fairly agnostic opinion on this entire, like, who is more transactional, like, argument is wrong or built on bad logic. I'm really coming at this, like I said, from a pretty, like, balanced standpoint. I'm not convinced that there's a good argument that one side or the other is, like, distinctly and noticeably more transactional. I'm open to the argument that, like, because men value certain things, that they are less likely to, that, like, women value certain things, that they are likely to, like, have higher expectations in, like, when they form the marriage or relationship, and then those expectations are eroded over time and align with, like, the dissolution of the relationship. Like, I'm still not convinced that there's, like, evidence that one or the other party is, like, more transactional.
Well, hold on. Case. I mean, we've been using the word transactional, which is, like, kind of a loaded and, like, a loaded term, and it already has, like, negative connotations. Do you think it's a negative thing? Like I'll even grant you that, okay, women are more transactional. You don't think that's a bad thing?
No, I don't think that transactionality is something that you can, like, really remove from human relationships. I think we're all built on pretty transactional, you know, the way we value relationships is inherently transactional. That's how we build and form them. But there's ways that you can be transactional in a negative or even abusive way. You can overvalue certain aspects of the transaction that put your partner at a disadvantage, or, like, anybody at in a, like, compromising position. And those are, it's possible for that to happen in marriages too. Yeah. People can value the wrong things that aren't going to age well, like physical attractiveness. A relationship that's built on that foundation is probably not going to age well, simply for the reality that we all lose that over time. And so if men value that more than women do, from, like, Smeth's analysis, then it would make sense that they would be the ones initiating
Welcome
more of the
to the Smeth
divorces.
Den.
That's, like, the quality they're most concerned with, and that's the one that most directly erodes over time, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just kind of, like, I'm looking to understand both sides of the argument. I'm super open to the possibility that I'm wrong, but I'm just kind of sharing my side of it.
I think that there's a difference between being selective and being transactional. And I think that especially just the way with technology and the way the dating market is changing, and the way our conversations are going about it, like the way everybody's talking about it. For women, dating and choosing who to date is now becoming more and more every day, like looking at a shopping list. And that's different from, like, just kind of your everyday, like, picking who around you is, like, who's good for you and stuff. That it's like, it's just so dehumanized that I think transactional is just the optimal word, and it's distinct from past times, of humanity.
Smith, yeah, where do you base that off of? This idea that, like, women are like, women be shopping, am I right? Like, they make this, like, list or whatever, and then they just go and try to find men according to it.
Yeah, I think, well, there's women are much more happy being alone. There's a massive virginity crisis, both among men and women. People aren't pairing up, but men are not happy with it, and women are happy with it. Men more so are getting less sex than women, but they trended the same direction.
Was this a poll?
I don't know where I could find this data, but
because it's important to me to know, just if did women say that they were happy with that, or did they say that they were kind of indifferent towards it?
I
would have to know the age, but okay, continue, Tom.
I know the polling that says that men are lonelier, and I think that men not having friends as often has more to do with that. That, like, outside of relationships, they don't have somebody to lean on, and they don't have somebody to have, like, a deeper conversations with. And I think that more often it has to do with the fact that, like, because most of the polling is about men being lonely, and then even, like, the fact that men are making friends less often, and they're, like, socialized into, like, video games and computer stuff and streaming and all sorts of other things at earlier ages, means that they have less real life interactions with people and less real friends. And so then if they don't have a relationship and they don't have a girl to lean on, then they just have nobody. Whereas women are almost always going to have their girlfriends. They're going to have deeper relationships with them. They're going to have intimate relationships with them where they talk about like, you know,
There's
more
really,
things
really
about their lives.
I actually really agree with Tom about the socialization of men versus women. And I think a big part of it is the way that boys are by and large pushed into competitive sports at a really early age. It has this like localized team building effect, but it also has a really alienating effect in the way that you like are constantly put in competition with both your peers in your immediate like class and the peers in other schools that you compete with. It really creates this like much more fiercely competitive and market-based mentality in terms of the way that I think I kind of related to it. I didn't get a good sense that I should like use like open up to anyone who had like something to gain by like being able to exploit that over me. It was like really early on that I realized that I was in competition with just about everyone, and I played competitive sports all year round, and I think that like was a big contributing factor to the way that like I was kind of socialized in a competitive mindset.
I agree with that, but I disagree that that's like all socialization. One of the things that I study is different types of communication between men and women, and it was kind of like something that we had to learn in the last in my profession. And so I think that a lot of it actually is like the way that men the way that they like understand things, the way that they compute different types of information, the way that they like to express different types of information. Sports for me was something that was really good because I built camaraderie with my teammates, and I like these were people that I was close with. But that didn't mean that we had like deep, intimate conversations with one another. Men build relationships around some sort of commonality, like playing video games together or watching streams together or, you know, playing fantasy football or sports or whatever. Like we just do something in that we share in common together and we become friends. Whereas women actually have to share intimate information with you in order to like consider you their friend. And I don't know that that's all socialization. I think that a lot of that is actually like the way that we interact.
That's interesting.
I've been talking about that a lot lately.
Divergent on. It's interesting to me that you think they're like the sexes are fundamentally divergent in the way that they like socialize with their peers and like build these friend groups and relationships.
I know what he's talking about. He's right. I've been talking about this with people around me quite a bit lately. And I've been arguing that I think even if it is essential to or it's part of human nature, I think we don't know to what extent it is social and what it isn't. So we should effectively sort of treat it as if it's social until we know, because it's the only way we
But he's saying it's not social, and we should observe it as like a biologically essential difference between the way that our two sexes like relate to their friend groups. And
I added the prescription in there. Hold on, because he added the prescription in there for me. I didn't make a prescription. I'm saying that I do think that difference is biological, and I think that we somewhat shame men for the ways that they interact, and I think some of it is biological. But I think what's important when it comes to a prescription is like encourage men to have those intimate relationships and make it to where they're just as likely to have those relationships as women, to where we're not socializing them at such a young age to where they're more likely to be separated from everybody else and not have intimate relationships with people. I want the likelihood, because like even women early on, they're taught to like make people happy, smile at people. They want to like, they're taught to be sexy. They're taught like a lot of very different things in how to socialize around other people, and men aren't taught that. In the like the things that women are taught are very important in how we make friends. And men, I
feel like you're helping the socialization argument, not the biological argument. Can you tell me where the difference is rooted in like biology, if that is the point?
So this is what I'm saying. I'm saying that men do communicate differently than women, and I think part of that is biological, but I think that we need to have similar socialization at early ages so that all else can be equal. But I think even with all else equal, there will still be differences. I think that we just exaggerate those differences too much currently.
Okay, so can you explain to me where the baseline difference would exist and how you would say it's like quantified? Because this is not something I think that you could really, without like a super strong neurobiological argument to back it.
I've got an example. Like,
no, I don't need an example. I need solid fundamentally like provable evidence that there's a biological difference between the way men and women make friends.
I can't prove that. I can't prove that, but I can show you. I can give an example of where it happens.
That's the claim. I want to understand.
The evidence comes from, it's not, obviously we can't prove it unless we live in a society where all else is equal. But we can look at every other society and see that men's communication standards are exactly the same. And these similarities across from one
Wait, they're not exactly the same at all. There are different
in these areas, the areas that we're talking
behaviors
about.
in-
Like the way that I'm blanking on the word right now. I don't know why, but it's kind of the way that we compute, the way we process. Yes, the way we process information is different. And so then the way that we're going to communicate to one another to process that type of information is going to be different as well. Whereas when we communicate with women, we do communicate differently than we do with men.
Okay, just walk me through it real quick. Explain the difference. Men communicate like A, women communicate like B, and we know this is biologically driven because.
Well, again, we can just forego the biological part.
It's biological.
No, the whole argument is that it's socialized. Like my argument is that like it is entirely socialized. If you put men and women, if you raised children in lab settings and like put them under the exact same social influences, they would largely socialize intersexually in like the same way in terms of their friend groups and the way that they like form friendship.
Okay, Portland, I think that's the biggest problem, is that you said that if you have this understanding that this is a consequence of just nurture, not nature. I think that's why the framing of this is like the sexual marketplace may not be the best term. And like, especially when you're saying you view it as like a neutral phenomenon, just because if you're most people who approach the sexual marketplace, as far as I understand, it has like a basis. They do this because they think nature has like a biological basis for this phenomenon, right? And that would mean that like if men have like a higher propensity for sex just biologically, then nature has basically conferred this disadvantage into men. So wouldn't that make women being transactional in that respect, like somewhat like manipulative, right? You're literally saying like men's greater sexual desire as a biological function puts them at a disadvantage. And obviously like women certainly desire sex too, but as long as women are going to desire it less than men, women are going to have a collective advantage biologically and in their social roles and interactions.
I think that was Smeth's position that I was kind of like granting. Men value physical, like that men value those.
I don't agree.
Was it? That was your initial statement. Men are idiots who value X, Y, and Z.
They value those things. Yeah. This whole conversation, I haven't really said much in this whole conversation about nature versus nurture. I believe there is nature, and I believe, like Tom, you can't really know exactly where it is. So my stance, which he agreed with, so we can move on, basically, is that I believe that it's probably there, but we can't know how much is nature versus nurture. But we do know nurture exists, so we should treat it as if that exists, and that's where we can have a conversation. Like you were saying, Portland, we don't have we can't have a study that proves nature. So we can only study and quantify nurture, and that's where we should be focusing. Otherwise, because nature is just, we're gonna have some fucking stupid biblical conversation where we make these grand claims,
Then why characterize it as transactional to me? I feel like that's just, if the only room for discussion is going to be whether or not it's transactional, I don't even know if that's the best way to characterize what's happening here then, because what everyone's acknowledging is that both men and women are going to be goal driven, right? And I think the way that we choose to characterize this issue is going to have an impact on the way people even look at relationships to begin with. So I guess you could characterize like interactions between like a man, like a wife and husband, as transactional, or people trying to date as like transactional, but I doubt most people even see them that way, or like I'm skeptical that they do. I would think that they see it more like symbiosis, right?
Sure.
And a kind of a give and take.
My point was about my original point when I was talking to Portland that sparked this argument wasn't about like, because I think in a relationship it's very give and take, but as far as seeking out relationships, like picking who to date. I think because of the women have so much more leverage and choosing power, they are more selective, and I would use the word transactional. They're picking people like women. There's like a trend of like women prefer men that make more money than them, even though under the age of 30 in major like cities, like women are making more than men now. Like women still want men that make more money than them, and like they have more options. So they'd rather. A lot of women are saying they'd rather be alone than date someone that makes less money. I mean, that's not always going to be the way it plays out, but
a lot of men say they would rather be alone than date a woman who makes more money than them. So I mean, like, the same is conversely true. There are a lot of like normative social expectations that I think are still reflective in the way that a lot of the people answer these questions, but I don't know that it's reflective of the way that they actually engage with the dating marketplace as much as the way they'd like to imagine themselves as engaging with it.
Yeah, Smeth, this is why I brought up earlier that I feel like when we bring up some area where women are going to be transactional, men are providing the other end of that transaction. And that's why I think it's weird to say one is more transactional than the other when both are going to be engaging within this transaction. So that's why I asked you to separate transactional versus one getting more out of the transaction.
Smeth, I think you're off on the claim that you made that women are looking for a man who makes significantly more than them. As far as I understand, like I pulled it up according to Pew Research, single women looking for a relationship are roughly 3 times as likely as men to say they wouldn't consider a relationship with someone who makes significantly less money than them. So that's 24% different. Of women reported that, and that versus 7% of men, which is different than saying women have the positive preference for a partner that makes more money than them. It just seems like most people want to be on kind of an equal economic footing, and
mutually exclusive though.
Yeah, that's different.
How do you mean?
Like you can have, so women wanting to date up in status does not necessarily mean that they're not going to date within their class. Whereas like men want to date within their class, but they're not going, like if I'm like a rich, like CEO guy, I might date somebody who's also grown up in a rich family and who like understands the field and understands these sorts of engagements. They know how to act when we go to the dinner parties. Like that is obviously going to be part of it. But women are actually looking for status. Men are not looking for status. But women do look for status. It is part of what they're looking for when they're finding.
But I think somebody mentioned we're talking about the disconnect between everybody has their stated preferences and stuff like that. But when you actually look at the effect and what people are doing and their actions, are those preferences even being reflected in like are we seeing a huge age gap between most married couples now? Like women may prefer an older man and men may prefer older women, but are the majority of couples have an age gap that's greater than 5-10 years? I would be so shocked to see that. The majority of people are going to marry within their economic bracket. So even though again,
why would
their women's stated preference would be like, yeah, I want someone who makes more money than me. But in reality, if you look at statistics, like most people, again, similar economic backgrounds are who you're going to end up marrying.
Why would you make it
100% years? The point I was trying to make is that a lot of these are
you're moving the goalpost with the 5-10 years. I bet you on average women are dating men that are like 1 to 2 years or something older. I bet you on average women are dating men that are making $5,000 more a year, that kind of thing, because so they have the leverage to make that much of a negotiation in the dating market, I would say.
But those gaps have shrunk considerably since the time, even 30 years ago, when we would have started any time that you could start measuring those statistics back from in recent history, I guarantee you that all those gaps have closed in terms of the amount of women that are marrying significantly older men, that the income disparity between them, they are narrowing because women have more ability to keep up in the income space, in the income side of the equation, and because more prominently now we're marrying people that aren't women aren't being married off to old men.
I want to know even if women have this, poor women or women of more modest economic backgrounds, they probably do have a stated preference for of course I want to marry somebody who makes a significant amount of money. I don't know. It's a different claim to say that women want somebody who makes significantly more than them versus a man who makes X amount of money at least. But that aside, what social circumstances would enable a woman of a lower socioeconomic background to even meet a wealthier man?
I can tell you, you're not going to like it. You're not going to like it. You're not going to like it.
Is it Instagram or what?
Yeah, I'm gonna say that. Okay, you're not gonna like what I think that all
No,
women.
we'll go for it.
So
I don't
the
think it could be
social
that
role,
controversial.
the social role of women, not like women fundamentally, is an element of their being as being a sex worker to some degree, and they're withholding their sexuality and everything. When you're posting on Instagram, every fucking little thing, like when you're fucking like every like part of your life as a woman is unfairly like not something you want to like, but it's imbued with your sexuality. All your interactions
Even the
with
way
men.
that you go around framing it though, like the women are withholding sex, as if like it's a thing that like women
Because
need to be
it's
like granting.
no, it's because it's where society tells women it's their locus of power is their sexuality.
Mhm.
I think that's true that that's how women are socialized to believe, but like I just
Yeah.
the framing of it is strange or whatever because it makes it sound like again like you just acknowledge that that's a social pressure that women have kind of like forced upon them. It's not one that like they just organically arrived at or like came out of nowhere. So when you say like they're withholding sex, it almost sounds like a sinister like
No,
thing that they chose.
it's
But
because
it's like
it's
you're
their tool
obeying
set.
into the social
It's the
role
t-
that you're told
it's the
to
tool
Yeah,
set
fulfill.
they've
you're
been given.
projecting the normative onto it when he's making a pragmatic statement.
I think
No,
it's
I'm saying
smart. I
if
think
you're
it's
using the
smart.
term like withholding, like I think there's a more neutral way to observe that phenomenon. You could say that like women are like the suppliers of sex, right? And men constitute kind of like the demand, right?
Yeah, no, but
I
no,
think
but
that sounds worse.
I think it's smart on
Why?
their part. Women that do this are smart because this is the cards they've been given. You've been given these tools in society. Why wouldn't you? That's why the sex work pipeline into OnlyFans and shit is such a powerful and scary thing
Why is that? I
because
don't. It's only smart if like you're presupposing that men value that like that is the top priority for a man every single time, or like the priority of a man of like especially a higher socioeconomic background. Then when that might be one factor, but is it his highest priority?
Okay, so wait, what about the loneliness thing? Someone in my chat mentioned that the loneliness thing is not just like relationships. It's not just friends. It's also relationships. But I looked up the data. There's a trend of going up of people under the age of 30 not having had sex in the past 2 years.
Years.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and that's gone up to like 20%. Uh, and for men, and it's gone up to, and this is 2016. I don't know where it stands now. It was 20% of men in 2016 and just under 16% for women.
Okay, so what do you
It's
think we
about
learned from
19 and
that statistic? What do you
21%
think?
right now.
Walk out your point from that statistic for me. What do you think that tells us?
People aren't forming and are engaging in sex or relation. I would assume more relationships, but I mean I'm assuming there. But yeah, what do you think
Okay,
is the
so
causation? What do I think is the causation?
what do you think that piece of data tells us about your larger argument? Because for
What
me,
do you think?
I would point to it and say that there's a tremendous similarity in both the trend and the amount of women and men reporting this similar phenomenon of not having sex for over 2 years in this age group. It sounds like it's not very gender specific or like leaning one way or the other very strongly.
I think that well, women are self-reporting that they are happy being lonely or not, they're happy not being in relationships more than men are self-reporting that they're happy not being in relationships. That might just be cope, but they're
Well, no,
reporting
hold
that.
on. No. What you just said is that men and women are about the same percentage when it comes to not having sex, yet men
Sure.
are reporting that they're lonelier at much higher rates. So we know that women are, like, from those two data sets, it
Okay.
sounds like women are happier not having sex than men are.
Or at least
Sure.
that, them self-reporting that they experience less loneliness associated with the lack of sex might be attributable to a few different things. I think that having the strong, close personal relationships that we were talking about
Mhm.
earlier kind of alleviates some of the need for that, and I would think that there
That was my
is,
point. Yeah.
yeah, there's something to be said about that. But I do think that it's worth observing, though, that like if people are experiencing this kind of like lack of sex in roughly the same proportions, but it's affecting one significantly more than the other, I think that one values sex as like a component of the transaction much more highly than the other. Would you think like that makes sense to like assert?
Sure.
I think, Smeth, you said earlier, before you corrected yourself, you at first said that like women report being happy or being lonely. But I think the reason that we had stated earlier is that women it's easier for them to say that they like or report that they like being or okay with, satisfied with being single because they have greater social support networks as opposed to men. So if you're a single man and you already don't have that many friends, then you're a lonely man. But if you're a single woman, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be a lonely woman, right?
Okay, I want to ask this question again. Please let Smeth answer it this time. So the same thing. I was saying earlier that I wanted to separate whether or not they are more transactional versus what crap I'm blanking on. What was the other one? Whether or not they whether or not they're more transactional or whether or not they get more out of the transaction, because that seemed to be your argument for why they were more transactional. But my argument is that in order for it to be transactional, somebody else has to be providing the other end of that transaction. So they're both going to be transactional at the same rate. One getting more out of it would be different than them being more transactional, right?
I see what you're saying. Okay, you've convinced me on that. You're right. But I guess me saying they're more transactional is you trying to load it, because I'm just saying I want men to have a wake up call, and I think men should not put up with that. We need to,
Well, so let me give you an example. I met this girl on Tinder. I'm just taking her out. If I take her to McDonald's, she's probably not going to put out. If I take her out for a steak dinner, she's probably more likely to put out. Is that kind of part of what you're talking about?
Yeah, of course. Yes.
Okay. Does anybody disagree with that?
I mean, I guess the weird thing is that, do you think that most men are going on dates trying to have sex on the first date?
I think if it's a Twitter hookup, yes.
Okay, but wait, hold on a second.
I mean,
with the having sex thing, the way I view dating, I end up having sex on the first date a lot, but I'm not trying to go fuck people on the first date. I just move close into intimacy. And I think people, they're like red pill people, and I guess a lot of men will frame it as like, oh, well, you got to get to fucking. But I just see sex as the most intimate way. Like, so if you're trying to get close to somebody, that's a good measure of the amount of closeness you've been achieving. I don't like talking about it as like you've extracted sex from a woman, but I mean you've become close with them.
Yeah, that's the thing, is that like even if I grant you women are more transactional, look, like you're outlining a tendency or like a way that like men are rewarding this or like feeding into it rather than trying to resist it. Like, oh, okay, so they're going to be transactional, so I guess what I have to do is kowtow to that demand, and I'm going to take her for a steak instead of McDonald's or whatever. Like, if men really rejected this, wouldn't they just outright I guess not engage in that sort of like transactional nature? Or do you think that that's just like men having to cope with it?
I think men could just be like, no, it's McDonald's. I don't fucking have a big paycheck or whatever. You know what I mean? I think, but men just won't fucking do it. I don't.
Wait. So now,
but men want that They want the end goal of that transaction. Men want to have sex too. Like, why would they? Why would they do that?
Yeah.
Men, the whole reason that they don't just say, fuck you, we're going to McDonald's, I'm broke, at a very high rate of success, is because they are as transactional as women, and they understand where their value is in that transaction, and that they need to be able to project certain value to elevate their like level of attractiveness and their
he said he's changing that
transaction.
Well, yeah,
he said he's changing it from more transactional to getting more out of the transaction.
Right,
so,
which was my whole framing to begin with, was like men and women are equally transactional. They value different things as aspects of that transaction, whether consciously or subconsciously, and that manifests in the way that their behaviors demonstrate different kinds of value.
Wait, hold the fuck on. because
Okay.
so yeah, but we're saying that if you want sex or you want a relationship and you're a man, the thing that is valuable in the transaction is the woman. If it's her, if it's a one night stand you want, it's her sex, and if it's a relationship, it's you want her. But the thing that the woman is valuing isn't the man; it's what he can provide to her. So it is more transactional because it's transactional in a way where the women are focusing on something that's not him; it's what he can provide. But man is focusing on her.
But again, that just means they're getting more out of it. Like you're saying there's more value from what they get out of it than value what the man gets out of it.
What I was saying
is there any other reasons that a woman might be that way besides just trying to get resources? Like, I mean, women are it's well documented that women are, well, not just smarts, okay, but like a lot of women are cautious out of fear too, and that's the thing that you're discounting. Like, again, we acknowledge that like women would like to, there are probably a lot of women who would like to have more promiscuous sex, but the reality is that they feel unsafe, and it just isn't safe to engage in the type of promiscuous sex in that direction, like women to men, that it is for men to women, because men don't really face, or like men are not physically, or men are generally physically stronger than women, and don't fear that they're going to be sexually abused by women. So like this transactional nature, again, like if women are being that way, like it could be, it's a rational calculation based off of safety and caution too, not just like necessarily with the end goal of like, I'm trying to get resources, I'm trying to get a relationship.
I think it's more so that like, so I do think women are attracted to status, but I think status is a representation of something else underlying that's more about like safety and security. And I think that
even just the term status there, like you use the term status as if it's one thing. It's not. It's like
it's not
confluence.
It's a million things.
Factors
I have status and I live at my parents'.
Right. So this, I give this all the time where like status can be the guy with the nice house, the guy with the nice car, or like it can be the hottest chick living in a small town. And everybody goes to the rodeo every Friday night. And the guy who's just the bomb at the rodeo is the guy who everybody's cheering on. He's the guy who everybody loves and they all chant his name. That guy's got status. That guy's he's the dope in that small town. He has status. And I think that these represent things to a woman where like, if you are liked by a lot of people, if you are or if you have money, or if you have power, or if you have a lot of people around you, you represent safety and security. And I think that that's something that women will just naturally gravitate towards and look for in one way or the other.
But the thing that I'm pointing out,
real quick, you said something that everybody just kind of said, okay, and I have a huge issue with it. You said that men are valuing women for their ability to be in a relationship because they want the person, and women are valuing men for the material offered, like the material value that they can offer.
I was about to go right back to that. I was about to go back to that.
Okay, good. Substantiate that somehow.
So with what Tom just said, like, so those different types of status that we're talking about, if that's the factor we're talking about, so the women are evaluating you by factors around you, like the people around you, the environment that you're in, rather than paying attention to you as an individual. But where I find that men will pay attention to the woman and they'll evaluate her personality, and they'll evaluate like it's just so much more personal and intimate of an evaluation.
How do you mean that a woman could like evaluate a potential mate without doing it on an individual basis?
There's like the guy that's at the rodeo. It's like, oh, that's the guy for me. You know, it's the guy that's the CEO. That's the guy for me. You know, I just watching Lifetime. Okay. My mom just had like a fucking surgery, so she was watching fucking shit ton of Lifetime shows. There's always a fucking scene where the woman sees the guy, and he's like, by the way, yeah, I'm a lawyer, and she's like, and she perks up and she looks at him.
Okay, so you just went like guy who wins rodeo, CEO, lawyer. Okay, so there's a huge fucking range of people there that might associate different things with status and seek out those like different kinds of people, whether intentionally or unintentionally. And you're not speaking to a desire to be transactional there. You're just kind of like talking about different positions that people who also likely have other attractive attributes to them find themselves in. Whether if it's the rodeo guy, you're talking about someone who's strong, who's athletic, who's persistent, who trains a lot. If it's a CEO, you're talking about someone who's confident, financially successful, has a lot of like, professional success to show for their place in life. If like all of these things, they aren't like, the woman isn't going to
You know what?
not everybody gets the CEO, not everybody gets like the winner of the rodeo. You're talking
Sure.
about like the apex of what people like generally find attractive.
Yeah, we're talking about the
And-
Yeah,
apex.
but-
Yeah.
Yeah, but that exists on a spectrum. There's closer to that. There's a little bit farther away. There's miles and miles away from it. And I think everything that you just mentioned, like confidence, all of these things are, I do think, like in the end, are going to amount to safety and security. And that whether or not they're intending on that being the endpoint for the transaction would still doesn't matter if they're
Yeah.
intending on it. It
I wanna
matters if
amend-
that's the endpoint for the transaction.
I'll amend then. I think that women are not actually. So yeah, women probably aren't. The smart women are, but most women aren't like seeing it in such a transactional way. But they're the way that women are engaging in dating just has this transaction built into it.
Well, I mean, you're just everybody
But
has
smart
everybody
women
has
know.
the transactional element built into the way they're engaging in the relationships. You haven't like broken apart the way men engage with their relationships versus like a transactionality. We value different things, and Tom, like as Tom alluded to, there's like an evolutionary basis for the like really really base characteristics that
I thought you
like,
rejected
general
that.
men-
You rejected that earlier, so
No,
I don't
no,
think
I
you did.
didn't. I did not. I said that there's no like biologically essential difference in the way that we build friendships. I didn't say that. I said that it was all socialization as far as
Yeah.
I can tell, and I would need really compelling evidence to suggest otherwise. What I'm saying is that there are obvious biological predispositions for like what women are generally going to find attractive and what men are generally going to find attractive. Those are like evolutionarily inlaid things that diverge for
I
some people.
Wait,
for sure.
and Smeth,
don't agree.
I feel like this is a
That's
point
just
against
wrong.
you
Then.
because
You're just wrong
you
about that. There's no way to
you-
argue around that.
I feel like Smeth, you were
Again.
saying earlier that like women are not interested in scrutinizing potential mates based on an individual basis in the way that men are, where you're saying they focus on personality, looks, and things that are specific to each woman that they're engaging with. But if we back up a little bit when we were talking about friendships and like socialization, isn't female socializing focused more heavily on like one-to-one relationships, and then like male socializing, like Tom illustrated with the sports example, usually extends to like large group networks that have kind of like shallower relationships. Like again, like you're on your team and you're kind of acquaintances with everybody, but are you like really close friends with any one individual person? No, as opposed to women who maybe don't find themselves in group activities in the same way, but they have closer one-to-one
Okay.
bonds. So how does
Well,
it then
that-
follow that from their dating preferences, men are doing the exact opposite if they already have a tendency to have to be okay with a more shallow relationship?
Okay, wait. Let me recenter this. Okay, look. It sucks for both. Okay, both men and women fucking suck. Okay, we can. There's all like we whenever anybody makes one criticism of one, we're gonna criticize the other, and we can go this loop. But how like so? Can we identify the things like so? I think that in general, I think it's a very good, very solid claim that women and men both have unhealthy standards for each other given the time and year, and we don't have a realistic vision of what an ideal mate is, like a ideal life partner is. We don't have a really like a men's like vision of like their like future girlfriend is like some fucking, I don't know, like manic pixie dream girl or whatever, and women want like Mr. CEO, Mr. Rodeo, whatever.
But is that
tell
an
me why
unhealthy
it's-
standard? I think
Well,
the
yeah.
standard is fine. It's how you go about trying to actualize those standards, or like, is it a deal breaker? It's
Can
like
you
some
explain why
superficial
it's
thing which would be a deal
unhealthy?
breaker. Yeah.
Me?
Yes.
Yes, I think that because women have so much more options and they are vetting people. So I think that because our standards,
So it's going to be
our-
unhealthy on a societal level and not on
our
an
standards
interpersonal level.
our standards keep getting higher. That means women have more access to the people that they want, and men have less access to the people that they want, and men's standards keep getting higher too. And it's
I don't
pushing
know-
men to
hold on, because wouldn't a lot of this play into like feminism changing how like women's socioeconomic place in society, especially their economic place in society, where they're having more and more powerful jobs, they're rising in positions, they're working more and more high-ranking positions. Obviously, if they're still looking for status above themselves, this is going to limit the amount of men on average that are going to fall into their dating pool. Wouldn't that like, but is that necessarily unhealthy, or is the unhealthy part that there's just less men that fall into their dating pool?
It's unhealthy that I think as we liberate women, we need to like stop having different standards for each other.
You mean we need to start, wait, okay.
More
What's wrong with different standards?
So you mean women would have to adjust their standards for men?
Yeah.
Because what would men have to adjust there?
Men's standards are just stupid. Women's standards, like men's standards, are just like pretty and stuff like that. Like
so they would have to be more willing to date.
Those hurt women in
socioeconomic scale, and women would have to be more willing to date down. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean the standards men have hurt women because women have to fucking wear makeup and they have to try to stay young and all that shit. But that's not changing. The thing that's changing
I don't think that's going to change.
I know, but I want it to change, but that isn't changing. But what is changing is women are now empowered financially and to have careers and jobs. And so that's the thing, that's the place. And so their selection needs to reflect that.
There's a lot of social pressure on, like, men are subject to increasing levels of like social pressure to remain attractive and look a certain way too. I mean, that's obviously just part of like the evolution of entertainment and like the digital media age. Men are seeing the same kind of standards broadcast for like unrealistic standards broadcast for the way that they should maintain their bodies and stuff. And I used to work in a gym. I could count on one hand the number of people that had like a good reason for why they were going so far like beyond the like maintenance level with their physical fitness. But I mean, people were openly taking steroids and stuff just to try to like
but
get
even that's horrible. Because have you ever like talking to women, dude, like so many fucking women don't like fucking muscular guys. You have to be like the sweet spot. Once you get a little bit too muscular, they don't like you anymore.
Yeah, but those guys don't realize that. They literally have like body dysmorphia, and they think that they look better and better the bigger that they get, and they are told by society, like by social influences, the same way as women, that they should have these rigid six packs. You've got guys like the fucking Rock out there who's like 50 years old, who swears he's never done a steroid in his life, and the guy could like probably test for more testosterone than a horse on any given day. And it's just
I have a question. Okay, so earlier we were, and I know this is super lame, but like we were using like biological ideas to say that this is probably evolutionary biology ideas to say this is probably why women seek out safety and therefore seek out some sort of status. And I would say that's probably the same for men looking for younger women as well. So if that's the case, what else is there outside of this that's actually socialized that we could change, or standards that we would be able to like, yeah.
Wait.
Okay, really quick. I have a perfect answer. Women need to be able to see the safety in their own status. They're you have the career. You're the fucking man now. You have that. You don't need it. You've got it. You can fuck a sexy 20. You're a 32-year-old woman and you've got the career. You can fuck a sexy 22-year-old guy if you want. Whatever like.
She can, but will she enter into a long-term relationship with him?
I mean, like, why would she? It sucks.
And again, that's another problem, like, with this discussion, is that we keep conflating, like, hooking up with a guy like that as, like, that's dating or whatever. And it's just a hookup. She's probably not going to, a career woman in her 30s is not going to,
we're talking about dating, but the reason I said that is because men will date, like, a younger woman like that because all they care about is the sex. They've got the job and whatever. They don't need, like, a life partner. They've got a stable career.
I don't think that's true.
But women don't see it that way.
Men also have. I'm sure men also have a preference for women with strong earning capacity. It's just not to the extent that women currently do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So there's kind of like a marker for like the wall that you first have to break through in order for the other things to matter. And so for women, that first wall is status. For men, that first wall is attractiveness. For women, you can have the status and all of a sudden in their eyes, you are now more attractive to them. Or you have the confidence, you have these things. Now you are more attractive to them in their eyes. Whereas men, it's like almost purely like a physical thing. You have to be attractive. Then obviously, if you are like a lunatic and laugh like a crazy person and do stupid stuff around their family, obviously the attractiveness is not the only thing that matters. Now all of a sudden there's a bunch of other things that they can start grading you on.
Well, you're pointing to disposition, but I think that like something that could be like her, like a woman's looks is not always going to overwhelm other negative aspects about her. So if you're young and 23,
that's exactly what I'm saying. I'm saying there's the first wall that you break through, and then all of a sudden the other things now matter. And so for the woman, it's status. For the man, it's going to be looks. But the personality, whether or not you make them laugh, personal chemistry between one another, all of these other things also still matter to them. So we can't just say, just because this is the first wall to break through, this is all that matters. It's not. But but it is the first wall to break through. Yeah.
Well, the thing that I want to challenge
about the way that like. Okay, sorry. Go ahead, Straighterade. It's a struggle without the camera. I don't want to interrupt you. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. This is like the difference that Tom, I don't know that we completely agree, because what you're breaking it down to is like a metric that's really hard to quantify. Like, how much he likes her personality, or like what constitutes a good personality is going to be like differs so much on an individual basis that's not something you could ever like it on. What I'm talking about is like. Chemistry again, but like that's hard to quantify. Like I would go based off of like, okay, so a man's attracted to like a young, beautiful 23-year-old woman, but if she struggles with substance abuse and she already has 2 kids from a previous relationship, that's already something that's going to disqualify, or like likely disqualify a man from seeing her as anything other than like a hookup. He's not going to have a relationship with her.
Right.
Yeah. Probably mainly just
all of
the
this.
children.
This is similar to what
like
I was saying.
Deal breaker there, right? Like I think more people associate children with a deal breaker in terms of like relationship viability than anything else. In terms of like maybe criminal history might be another big one, which probably more predominantly affects men. But I think that things like past use of like illicit substances or past behavior, like generally speaking, it seems like only the things that really have big implications on your present day relationships are ones that are big disqualifying factors in my experience.
Yeah. So with all of that said, Smeth, so what is it that we're looking at that we can actually change, or that you would want to change?
Yeah, okay, so I just don't think that it is biologically determined, or I don't believe it. I don't it could be, but I don't believe that it's biologically determined that women see status and men just see physical appearance.
Nobody's saying that though. Nobody's saying that.
If it's not biologically determined, that means it's social, and we can have a different conversation.
I'm sorry. Okay, I am saying that those two things are likely have some sort of biological undertones to them. Yes, but there are other things that matter as well. So when you say that's all that matters, I'm saying no, nobody here is saying that that's all that matters, but those things are very high on the scale of what is important to people.
I think so. As I think these days, the first wall breach that we're talking about is more important than it ever was in the past. It's with the way that people are dating, with like online stuff and like fucking apps and shit. It's all like the surface, and like you have to really get over that wall. Women
have you considered that like this is probably pretty specific to the like you're saying a lot of things that sound like you're saying them on like a really general societal level, but you're talking about specific groups of people. Like here you're talking about people who use like dating apps like Tinder.
We're talking about the internet.
Yeah. Do we even know that like most relationships are being started based off of like Tinder dates and stuff like that? Like if I had to guess, I have no evidence to support this, that most people will try their hand at Tinder, at like at Hinge or Grindr or whatever, and they quickly abandon them because they don't work out for them, and then they start to try to find different avenues to get start dating somebody, namely a workplace, school, social engagements, maybe like churches and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's a high percentage of people, so it's around 80% of people who have used internet dating sites or Instagram or something like that to find another partner. But I
Yeah,
don't
but
think
even
we have
that's
data
like
that says that this is the majority of the time, because I highly doubt that it would ever be the majority of the time. I think most of the time you find partners at work, at school, in your neighborhood. Like, this is why like
even to that point.
socioeconomics matters a lot as well, is because it's always the people around you doing the same things that you're doing, which means it's likely always going to be within your socioeconomic class.
Even to the point that you just made, Tom, saying that like you've met someone, like that you've dated online, as a really general statement, could incorporate a huge number of unique and really specific ways to, like, different dating apps function enormously differently. Tinder is just like one example of a really hypersexualized, fast-paced marketplace that favors a really, really small percentage of people. There's also a huge variety of other apps, as well as like non-sexualized or non-dating marketplaces like Instagram and Facebook that people meet too. And like I would say that meeting someone on Facebook that you form a long-term relationship with is as different from meeting someone on Tinder as like meeting someone in the grocery store versus meeting someone on Tinder. Like, these are miles apart. The only like the only common factor is internet.
Look. Okay, so there's another
Well,
part of it. So
hold
there's
on.
a lot that goes into my
disagree
fucking
with that,
worldview. Okay.
I'm sorry, I disagree with that, because I think most of the time on the internet, it is going to be purely physical. You're normally judging mostly based on a profile picture more than anything else. I know lots of apps like Match or whatever have like a bunch of grading factors where they show you like your chemistry likelihood and all of this other stuff. But I think most of the time it's going to come down to whatever their pictures in that on that app are going to
Most
show you.
of the dates that you have in real life are going to come down to who you do and don't find like physically attractive in appearance and stuff. This is not to say that there's like zero common factors beyond the fact that they're both on the internet. The other common factors would apply to like all spheres of
I
dating.
agree with this, but Smeth's problem has more to do with the way that we're interacting online, and that it comes down to more physicality than anything else. Whereas in person, there will always be some sort of personal chemistry there. Whereas online, there's just pretty much none of that whatsoever.
It depends.
And so
If you're dating off of
there is-
4chan or you're
just
dating
to
off of
clarify on that,
Discord.
This isn't entirely fair, because when you meet someone on like Facebook or Instagram, it's typically through having mutual friends and connections, mutual interests, and things that like start a conversation. It's not because you're on Instagram or Facebook like seeking out someone to solicit for dates. There's a completely different way to engage with the medium that leads to the same end result, but with a much, much less focused emphasis and with a much less hypersexualized marketplace to engage.
That's what I'm saying, though, is that the emphasis is going to be more physical online than it will be in person.
But that's for men, and then for women,
I don't
it'll be
think that's
status.
Going to have like a physical attractiveness that you engage with on a surface level right away in person too, right? That's going to dictate who you do and don't pursue.
These differences exist, but I want to say something that's going to sort of bridge the gap, or at least make the playing field more where you're going to have more to disagree with me and have in common with each other. I think that maybe you'll agree. I think that the conversation should be moving toward online, and I think online is going to be much less personal than in real life, like to some degree, it's going to be more superficial, more flippant in various ways. And we're moving towards that. And not only are we moving into a hyper-technologized world, I think that all the traditional or more intimate ways of dating people or meeting people are now becoming more ostracized, especially on part of men. If you're like we're seeing all this shit like don't fucking hit on women in the fucking gym, and it's just like it's getting more and more like men hitting on women is like more like, oh no, and you're only really free to express your sexuality and all that. It's only safe if you're doing it on these fucking flippant places like Tinder and shit.
Yeah, that is one of the only places that it's going to be safe to like express your sexuality in ways that make other people uncomfortable. And what you're talking about are like discouraging of like inappropriate ways, in my opinion, as a person who's fucking worked in a gym and had people of both genders and like age groups and stuff say, hey, please, like, don't let this person follow me around and fucking harass me anymore.
I was
like,
about to say, Smeth, isn't that kind of reasonable? Like when you said like women don't even want to be hit on, it's like, yeah, it's one. I think that is a reasonable. It would be unreasonable to say. I guess like if a woman said, I don't want men to talk to me at all.
There's stalkers.
That's two
and
different
I'm
things,
not
though.
stalkers. Like having stalkers at the gym is different from like some guy like asking like to help like fucking do some fucking thing. But I don't think that's reasonable, because I don't think it's reasonable that women are the ones constantly being the vetting person and men are the pursuers. I think we need to have, if women don't want to, if women don't want to have to deal with the consequences of their social role where they have to constantly vet men, which fucking sucks, and it sucks to have to be like a fucking predator and fucking have to seek out women all the fucking time. Both of those suck. If women don't like their end of that fucking awful bargain, then they should pursue. They should.
I could flip that on
fuck
you.
They should pursue men more. They should be.
I could flip that on you and say that men shouldn't be so creepy then.
Yes, men should be more like withholding of their pursuit, and they shouldn't chase women as much, and women should chase men more, and that would balance the playing field. But instead, we demonize men for the pursuit, and women can do no wrong because it's always on the burden.
I mean,
on
yeah,
men.
sometimes
Hold on. Wait. Okay, hold on. We are demonizing men on a very like individual level for them doing it the wrong way. We don't demonize men societally or socially for pursuing women. Like generally, we say that men are supposed to be the ones who are pursuing. So we aren't demonizing men like across the board. It's not a stigmatized thing to go approach a woman and ask her for her phone number.
I think it is. I think it is stigmatized, and only because like you're not wrong, but we're not telling men how to do it the right way. And any description of how to do it the right way is going to come from the fucking crazy red pill guys, and it's going to be exploitative. So like, you're telling them how it can be bad. You're telling men how it can be inappropriate. You're a great risk of making women uncomfortable of being a creep. You're not telling them how to do it right. So I think it is effectively stigmatized against.
Smeth, the kind of behavior you're suggesting where like you strategically look for opportunities to like pretend you're looking to help a woman so you can initiate a conversation in the gym and hit on them, that's toxic behavior that you should not be encouraging in other people. I
didn't say that. That's not what I said.
You should not be exploiting open opportunities to try to turn the gym into your dating marketplace. That is unhealthy, and that's the kind of behavior that causes things like fucking curves gyms to need to exist.
Okay, so you're saying all that. That's not what I said. But what if you're next to a woman at the gym and you're not seeking out some fucking thing like you told me I said, but I didn't say? What if she's like just like you're using the same weights and you're like, you know what? I'm gonna strike up a conversation. She seems cool, and then you go for it. Fuck you! Go fucking kill yourself.
Well, what are the intentions there? Are the intentions there genuinely to aid this woman?
These are such rare things. I don't know why we're even talking about this. Yes, this is so rare.
This does not happen. This like man who goes up to a woman at the gym, or who's just like working out next to a woman at the gym and is like,
"That's happened to me.
How are you doing?" And she's like, "Fuck you! I hope you die." This is not what happens, and that is a gross mischaracterization of even the most ridiculous of those online.
I know
videos
that doesn't.
from TikTok.
Yes, true. But that's the message that we're sending to people, and I think it's becoming more and more and more like that.
No.
Well,
I don't think when you take away from the message, like. When somebody says, hey, don't go up to women and hit on them at the gym as just like a general rule, and you hear that as like, oh, if I go up to a woman and like have a pleasant interaction, I make any kind of pleasantry at all, she's totally going to like lose her mind and scream at me. And,
I know.
Guys, you take like misinterpreting the changing social standard around how we like expect to behave around each other and like how we value each other's privacy in these spaces where women's privacy traditionally hasn't been very valued.
It's a huge self-report that you were conflating like a guy going up to talk to a woman as like the same as like, oh, he must necessarily like men are trying to like flirt with a woman every single time that he does that. Don't you think?
No, I don't.
Okay. Why not? Because you were saying that like you're like men can't even go up to women to like flirt with them at the gym or like hit on them, and it's like, yeah, that's not so bad. But no one's saying that men can't talk to women at the gym. But I have seen that, but I think it's a reactionary take. Sure.
I think that men are young men. Okay, so I'm 29. I have no problem talking to women. I think when I was 22, I did. And if I was at the gym at 22 and in this current environment, I would be terrified to talk to women at the gym. I don't know how to do it right if I'm a 22-year-old. So I'm just not gonna do it.
Why would you be terrified?
29-year-old either if your goal is to like try to initiate dates with people. It's entirely up to you to have that intention at the gym when you're like looking for opportunities to interact with people, which is like how you framed it initially, is like, this is a good place to meet people socially, and you should like go up to people, you should be like encouraged to go up to people and kind of like strike up conversations with them, and you would do it via like offering to help them with their weights or something like that. That is a very toxic and manipulative way to try and like start a dating conversation, by approaching someone at the gym and being like, hey, I see you need help with that. Oh, by the way, my name is Smeth. Like, you know what women like hear when you go up and do that? They don't hear like, oh, this person's offering to help me. They hear this person is trying to like hit on me. That is a very transparent like motivation that you're kind of endorsing here.
Is it transparent or is it manipulative? Because it can't be both.
It's deceptive.
Yeah,
is it deceptive or is it transparent? Is it deceptive
or
or is it transparent, motherfucker? Is it deceptive or is it transparent?
Just because they're not doing it well doesn't mean that women can't tell.
It's a shitty attempt. Hold on. It's transparent because it's a bad attempt. It's manipulative because of your intent.
I don't think it's manipulative. I think it's an obvious ploy. It's an obvious ploy to get attention. You're saying, okay, I think you're interesting. I'm going to ask you if you want to collaborate on our working out right now because you seem interesting. We're both working out. We have something in common. Do you want to collaborate on this?
Exactly, it's an obvious
not
ploy.
Fucking
Why would anyone be
manipulative.
attracted
To call
to
that manipulative is to demonize men hitting on women whatsoever.
You just said it's an obvious ploy.
No, it's not, because women aren't just in the gym existing in a neutral state where the expectation is that you can just go up to them and ask them for their number.
If you want the expectation not to be for men to go up to women and ask them for their number, then we're going to have more egalitarianism in women need to be approaching men and men need to or we can all just go to fucking Tinder and get drunk and date in bars.
Hold on, I gotta get okay. So listen, men going up to women is not like a bad thing. Women are attracted to men coming up to them. They like, charisma. They like confidence. These are things that like you going up to them is showing them. Men aren't attracted to those things as much. They are attracted to them, just not as much as women are. And so it is like a good starting point for a man to go and approach a woman. That now, when we're talking about men approaching women, we don't stigmatize it just happening across the board. There's good and bad ways of doing this. And I think we can all recognize this. Like, we always have good and bad ways of doing things. You don't just walk up behind a woman and slap her over the head with a freaking pipe or something so that maybe she'll sleep with you.
Maybe you don't.
Like, there's always good and bad ways of doing this. And especially in the gym, most people say, hey, don't start asking out a girl that you've never seen before, you've never talked to before, you have no sort of rapport with her. That's the type of like approach that people stigmatize. If you go look at like the most recent video where the girl got all mad at the guy, and there's a bunch of these videos of girls like turning around and being like, why are you looking at me? You don't need to help me. It's mostly everybody getting mad at the girl for how she reacted. People, their reactions are what get stigmatized, not the way that the man approached them. We can say that's not a good way, while it's not a demonized way. It's not you didn't do a bad thing. You just didn't do it. You didn't do it in the best way. And so that's what people are talking about, is there are good and bad ways, or there are better and worse ways of doing this. And I think we can all find like the most, the best way of approaching a woman in a way that she'll feel respected and she'll feel more inclined to say yes. And I think that
I like what you're saying, but I don't think that's the conversation. What Portland was saying was he was saying all men kind of going up to a woman is bad.
Smith, I need to explain a couple of really like important distinctions about the gym as an environment where you need to feel comfortable versus one where you have the feeling that you're going to be engaged without like your desire.
Wait, can you answer what he just said? Because do you think that the way that I explained it, you should have a rapport with a woman before you start asking for her number versus just going up and hitting on her? Like, do you think
like there are socially appropriate ways to ask someone for their contact info after you've organically interacted with them, even at the gym, even up to and including places where they are at their most vulnerable. If you have the organic
and you're like, vulnerable, you need to be protected at the gym. But what you just said, they're organic, so that's the problem. Okay, so let's say that you go to the gym every day, and for like a month you've seen this woman that goes to the gym every day, and you think that she's giving you glances and you don't know, and you know, so you're like, I wanna ask her, because she's not gonna come over here, and I'm the man. I have to fucking do this, and I don't fucking know.
No.
So I'm gonna go and ask her.
Glances are
You're
not an organic
contributing to the-
interaction. Glances
I know they're
that
not.
you think
No, I know they're not. I'm not saying they are. I'm not saying there are. I'm not saying there. I'm not saying they are. I'm saying, okay. So we've also established men are more socially isolated, and
No.
so this organic. The men are more socially
You
isolated.
asserted that.
Not in the gym. In the gym, men are a lot less socially isolated.
In general,
more comfortable approaching each other.
In general, men are more socially isolated.
You made a prescription about like the gym as a place to seek to meet sexual.
No,
okay?
It's not a place to seek out sexual. I'm just an example of a place where it's stigmatized against. It's not a place to seek out sexual partners.
There should be a certain stigma around approaching people with romantic intentions at the gym. Yes, there should be.
So let's say the example. I don't know. I don't really think I agree. I think that so what I'm trying to say though, you're saying you need
there should be limits on it, not a there should be.
There shouldn't be a stigma. Yeah. So we need the organic before we can do the other thing, but men are more socially isolated. We don't have the organic so much. So like you have to, if you how do you throw your hat in the ring at having an organic interaction with somebody? How do you start making friends? How do you start talking to women when you don't already have women in your social group?
You're talking about dating at the gym.
That's an inorganic interaction. If you've thrown your hat in the ring, you've created an interaction where one was not organically occurring. Being in
so
the
you can never do it. So if you're listening to what I'm saying, so if you don't already have women in your social group, there's no organic way.
No,
to do this.
No. There is. Okay, so real quick, you can say things like "hi" to somebody as you're passing them. You can say, "Hey, I like those pants. Those are dope." As you're passing them, over time, you might start to learn each other's names. You might start to you might stop when you say hey to each other and start to spark up a conversation. There's lots of organic ways of doing this without just walking up and asking for their phone number. There's lots of ways of of gaining rapport with somebody and being around them for long periods of time before you just jump into, hey, can I get your number?
Well, those comments in themselves, I think Portland would say are inorganic. Like saying like, oh, I like your pants at the like at the gym. It's very stigmatized against. I mean, we could I think that stigma at the gym is expanding more. It's just more like if you do this to women, if you go up to a woman and say, hey, I like your pants. What are you trying to flirt with me? You know, it's like
Straighterade.
It entirely depends on your intent. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Would you what is a good way for a guy to approach a girl at a gym?
To me, like, the purpose of the gym is for people to exercise and work out. I don't think it's even a good mindset for you to go to the gym with any other priority other than trying to improve your health and to exercise. Again, like, everyone understands it's a social place. I don't think that people need to not speak to each other. I think it is a good idea to or it's fine to talk to people at the gym. It's a social environment. But Smeth, I think it's kind of like a toxic way, or like it's not.
Well, so hold on.
I don't think it's a good prescription to say that people should even go to the gym as like a place, as like, again, to potentially meet people.
I don't think that's true. So that's literally everywhere. Everywhere has another intent for it. And like, unless you're going to the bar, like that's the only place where there's like the idea that you're going to go hook up with somebody or meet somebody. But if you're going to church, if you're going to work, if you're going anywhere else, there's some other intent there.
Okay? As a person who has worked in the gym and built, like, intimately interacted with the user base, like, people don't, especially the people Straighterades talking about, they don't go to the gym for fun. It's a kind of work. It's a kind of obligatory self-maintenance and self-improvement.
Right. And I just included church. I included work. I'm including all other places where there's another intent there, but those are still the places that
work
you meet
is another place where you shouldn't go to, like, socially.
Yes,
like,
but
that's the place where we meet the most. That's where we make our partners.
Exactly. I know. Hold on. Wait. I'm trying to bring this back. Hold on. I'm trying to bring this back. So, like, all of these other places have their own intents in them, and that is kind of to Smeth's point, is that, like, the internet ends up being the place to go where you get on these apps and you go to like, the dating place and you start finding women in these ways, because everywhere has its own intent or like what the purpose of that place is. But this is where normal people are meeting people, where they're around other folks. There ends up being a general way of building a rapport with them over time. And then you start going out with them or whatever. Like it's very different from just approaching and saying, hey babe, like want to smack cheeks, like, but the there's also like, long-term building rapport with people, talking to them and like building a relationship.
I know. Well,
over time.
but as a side effect, I think that's the difference. That's the like impasse that we're at right now. Is that in any of those places that you listed, whether it's Twitter and online in general, whether it's church, whether it's the gym, you should not be ever like entering any of these spaces with the intention of like, this is going to be a good place for it. It's fine to acknowledge that, like, yeah, I could potentially meet somebody here, but I think
we're not saying that space specifically. We're saying all social places, all places.
I know. I just named
people.
all of the places. Everybody can acknowledge that there's social environments where you have the potential to meet a mate and stuff like that. But I think if you're unable to reconcile, like, hey, I might not meet somebody at the gym, I might never meet somebody on Twitter, you should be comfortable with that. I think the toxic thing would be that, like, if you're just viewing these things as like, this is a playground for me to like meet people to date and fuck or whatever, like you're already not acknowledging that clearly isn't your priority, or like the stated priority of those places is not the reason why you're there.
Yeah,
so
but
again, like if somebody goes to the
back
gym
to the
to work
internet
out
or the bar, and that's it. Like you have the internet and the bar, and then there's really nowhere else. So like, and I'm not saying that you should go to these places with that intent, but I'm saying that people should be encouraged to start talking to other people in social places and start like building relationships with people in other places outside of just the internet and the bar.
Yeah. So my friend, so a while back. Let me say something real quick. So a while back, I was way more like 2 or 3 years ago. I was way more like misogynistic. I was getting blackpilled about like meeting women, and I just wasn't. So my friends are like, "Oh, well, you're gonna have to fucking get out there and meet more women." So I was like, they told me you need to start going to the gym. And I went to the gym because, I went to the gym because I want to meet more. I like flirted with a couple people, like over the course of like a year and a half, like a couple times. I never asked anyone out. I kind of thought I might, but I never did. But that was my intent originally, because I wanted to be more social and meet more people. And I came out enjoying working out. Is that evil?
I think that was No, I'm not saying that it's evil, but I'm saying, do you think it's a better mindset to go to the gym with the intention of just getting strong? Or do you think it was a better mindset for you to enter it like, okay, yeah, I can get strong, but like my main priority here is to make friends? What is a healthier mindset to you?
I don't think it has to be one or the other. You keep straight every time you come back to like, you're going there just to meet people, and I don't think anybody's doing that. I think we're saying like it could be a good like consequence of you being around other people.
I think Smith just acknowledged that he literally said he joined a gym for social reasons, and that fitness reasons and fitness goals were not his intention.
Okay, and like, hold on. I want to try and like bridge the gap here, and also understand Smeth's position a little bit better, because like one of the main reasons that I go to the gym is to play pickup basketball. It's like my favorite exercise, and it's inherently like a social and group activity. I have like a group of guys that I met through that activity that we go regularly at the same times, and that's like one of my favorite social avenues to like have recreational relationships. But the problem comes in trying to blur the lines between a place to make recreational relationships and a place to form romantic ones. You can have one lead to the other, but if your intention is to seek out the romantic ones, the gym is a really bad place to do that.
It's
and there are a lot of reasons why. Similar to the reason that it would be like a really bad way to enter the workplace, specifically to find a romantic partner.
Sure.
You're going to go to the workplace understanding that there's a possibility that through some organic interactions and proximity to other people, you might have the opportunity to form a relationship. Like my last girlfriend before I met my wife, I met through work. She was like a sales rep and I was a store manager. She was coming through and like selling product to me. We interacted or like completely organically for a few weeks, and then eventually we started to just like we exchanged numbers and we started texting. And that was like what I would say is a really healthy example of like leaving the opportunity open, like the door open for the opportunity without prioritizing that as part of the engagement or like looking for that as the engagement in the workplace.
Okay, yeah,
Exactly.
because so hey, yeah, yes, I agree with all that. But let's say you got a fucking NEET, and they're like desperate, and they're like, I just want to fucking date. I want to fucking get laid. I'm a virgin. Okay. And what do you tell them? So like you tell them we tell them you need to talk to women better, or you tell them you should get a job, you should start working out, you should go to these places, because if you do that, you're going to start meeting people, and that's going to greatly increase your chances. I think you should say that.
Tell them the latter. I would tell them the latter.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I
but
think
how does that lead to, okay, so I should go to the gym looking to approach people for romantic relationships?
Well, so when
Like,
I went, wait. So when I went to the gym, I was advised to, because I would meet women there. I went there, yeah, but I'm not like I'm not like I went there because it would increase my chances of meeting women. As I went there, I was looking around. There's not really a lot of flirting opportunities or dating opportunities. This doesn't seem like the great place. So there wasn't a lot, but that's why I went. But I still judged the situation correctly. I didn't fucking stalk anybody, or I didn't make anyone uncomfortable. I like, over the course of 2 years, I like made like 2 flirtatious comments ever, and they went great. But even though they went great, it just wasn't an opportunity to ask for a number. So
that's great. I'm trying to explain, like, you're the one that is taking the position that women have like this fundamentally more transactional view of relationships. Somehow we've ended up in like dating dynamics and how men and women should go about trying to meet people in a healthy way. You offered the gym and the notion that someone should like go up and like help someone with their weights as a way to introduce themselves. And I'm just trying to disabuse you of the notion that that is a really good, healthy mentality to take into the gym. I think that you need to understand the differences in like the social expectations aligned with different places. I would say it's totally fine to walk up to someone at like, in like a sporting event or something like that, or like, a public event where everybody is kind of like on equal footing and there for something recreational.
This was Orange Theory. So it was classes, and Orange Theory is marketed more to women. So I was like, oh, there's going to be mostly women there. It's going to be classes, so we're communally doing this, and but it still wasn't a great, like, so nobody was fucking talking, so that's why it didn't end up happening.
Are we able to recenter this?
I would like to. I mean,
well, can I make one final thing with this?
Please do.
It's just that there's so many, like, you guys were asking me for like, oh, how do you think the right way to approach somebody at the gym is? And I feel like that's the wrong question entirely. I feel like you have to back up so much before that's even an important question to ask, because the more important question to ask is that if you are lonely and you're single and you're a man and you feel like, okay, how do I, extricate myself from this situation? If your first thought is, I'm going to join the gym, and not only will I get stronger, but it has the benefits of being a social environment, I might meet somebody, I still think that that's the wrong way to be approaching constructing your social life. I think there's a reason that women are more comfortable and report being more comfortable being single. And it's because, again, like what we were talking about, they have closer friendships already. So not only if men want to become better at dating, they also first need to become more comfortable with being single. And that starts with just forming friendships, both co-ed friendships, with men and with women. And then once you can prioritize, forming friendships and building a social network, I think at that point, you're in a better position for you to understand how you can, go about dating somebody, or maybe turning some of these friendships into something romantic if you feel the attraction is there. I think it's the wrong question to ask, like, what do you do at the gym? But continue.
Yeah, not even just that. I think having friends also is going to give you the ability to like meet more people, and you're going to go do social things with them and possibly meet other people through them. And so, yeah, I think lots of it starts with having like personal bonds with other people.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
like if you're somebody who's single, like you're not
saying,
and you don't know how to pick somebody up, like how do you expect to go from like a single, like if you view yourself again like low self-esteem, you think you're a loser, you're not in shape, how do you expect to like, okay, day whatever at the gym, day 20, I expect that I can, pick some woman up at the gym, and it's like you don't have any friends or anything. Like, would you even date you?
And
like
you're missing out on,
wow,
like I was saying before,
wow.
Hold on. The other aspect to that Straighterade was just hitting on is that like you're missing, if that's what you're focused on, you're missing like the huge social opportunity to make peers in your like age and kind of workout demographics and stuff instead of looking for romantic partners. Because if you're trying to pursue a woman at the gym, odds are like you're probably doing different exercises or exercises of different intensity, and you have a lot of maneuvering to try and find a convenient social circumstance to engage with them. Whereas if you go and engage with people who are participating in like really similar activities, you form groups and bonds based on that. Not only are you more likely to stick to those gym activities, they're going to be healthier, more productive gym activities, both physically and socially. It's a much better use of your time in a place that most people feel they're going to out of obligation, like women at least feel they're going to out of obligation, whereas men feel like they're going to for recreation in a lot
I
more
think
cases.
there's an even better way to do that, where you approach the girl, but the first time you approach her, you act like you're gay. And then, hey, girlfriend, let me help you with that. And over
Hell
time,
yeah.
keep approaching her, but get straighter and straighter over time. And eventually, you'll just be like the straight dude that knows
You're
her.
going to get a lot of attention from gay dudes at the gym with that strategy, Tom. The gay dudes at the gym are the most aggressive gay dudes out there, okay?
You got to play that
They're
part
really
as well. Yeah, you got to
guys.
walk out holding a
Face.
dude's hand once in a while at the beginning, but later on. You know?
Yeah, you're getting laid if you adopt that strategy at the gym. You're just going to have to adjust your preferences in the marketplace a little bit.
Yeah, women love the bait and switch like that. Smeth, you said wow when I was making comments about like, okay,
No, yeah,
you're
so-
like,
yeah, but
you're probably fucking. Wait, let me just say this: like, if it's in your terms, if I'm speaking sexual marketplace terms, I'm just saying you can't go from a 2 to a 10 overnight. Okay, you can go from a 2 to a 5, and then from a 5 to an 8, and then from an 8 to a 10. But what you're saying is like, again, how am I supposed to encourage somebody who's at a 2 to go to a 10 overnight? And I'm saying that's just literally not possible. You have to work on yourself slowly.
I don't think all these people that are lonely are 2s. I think a lot of these people that are lonely, they have like
No,
they
probably not.
just. I think a lot of them are like fucking 8s and shit. Like, I honestly, I don't even
You're
see
talking
it.
physical. Well, you're talking physically, right? I think she means more in like a social capacity, like people
Sure,
who have.
but I think there's a lot of men that are actually like they have decent social skills. They just don't know how to meet new people.
Okay, but that means they have very limited social skills. Like
I
by
don't know.
definition.
So hold on.
I know.
Wait. Okay, hold on. I've had a lot of romantic relationships, lots of long-term romantic relationships my entire
Brag.
life. Every girl that I've ever dated approached me. Every girl I've ever dated asked me out. I now, at 34 years old, have no clue how to approach a woman. I have no clue how to do this. And I don't even know if I have the confidence to go do it. And I don't have a lot of, I'll say, I don't know if I don't have the experience with it. I think I have the confidence and I think I know how to do it because I have a lot of like social interactions and I've always had a lot of friends and I've like grown up with a lot of brothers and sisters, but I've never actually done it. I've never done it my entire
Another
life. I've never had to do
attractive
it.
34-year-old alpha male. Let me explain based on my memories from the 90s, because I've been married for a while and out of the marketplace too. I think what you do, you get a magazine, you cut all the letters out of it, and you use them, you paste them on a piece of paper, a really short note, like, you are pretty, and then you type that
Circle
to a brick,
yes or no.
throw it right through the window.
Mhm.
That is a basic guide for how to impress a woman from 90s techniques, okay? I'm pretty
Well
sure.
done.
Pretty sure.
I
Yeah,
still favor the like pretend that you're gay and then secretly turn straight at the last minute or whatever and try to get in her pants that way.
2000s. It's more of a 2000s technique. Yeah.
Yeah, isn't
I
there
agree.
an Adam Sandler movie with that?
Ugh. There's
This sounds really familiar, but I can't think of the title. I do think
It's
this
got-
concept has to have been in the movie. I'm thinking of the movie like Tootsie with like Dustin Hoffman or whatever, where like he
Tootsie.
ends up like pretending to be a woman. And he gets close to like a woman that he was trying to fuck. Similar.
Mrs.
Right.
Doubtfire also does that, but
Mhm.
there's the movie with Jessica Biel and Adam Sandler where he pretends to be gay at the beginning to get in her
50
pants.
First Dates.
Yep.
No.
Yeah, that's with Drew Barrymore. But the whatever Tom's describing, yeah, that is the movie that I'm thinking of also. And like I said, there's a scene where she's literally like, "Here, touch my tits" or whatever, because
Yes.
she thinks he's gay.
That's
Yeah.
exactly what I was thinking of. Yes, I love
Okay, I have-
Jessica Biel's tits.
I have an example of an interaction that I had shooting my shot. You guys can judge me, and you guys can tell me if I'm now.
I will.
Now let me know, Straighterade, if I'm now
You hit on
self-reporting.
Straighterade
Self-reporting.
and we'll
No, no.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna. So I was working in a nursing home, and I was in the kitchen.
Hot.
I would bring the food up bring the whole fucking metal cart, and I would bring it to the nurses. after meals, and I would take back all the food and I'd bring it back. And there was one nurse that I saw that was very pretty, and we would exchange glances. And she like I could tell like we would like talk, but it was like she would like come and like try to talk to me. But she was when I'm giving the food out, it's very busy because they have to fucking force feed all the fucking old people. Like they're like this is a nursing home. So.
Oh my!
Like,
I really don't like this story.
Okay.
So I'm quitting in my last day of work. I'm like, I'm never gonna see her again. So why don't I just go shoot my shot? And so I go up and I'm like, hey, I'm not gonna be here anymore. Can I give you my number? And she was very flattered. She said, no, thank you. What do you think about that?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, it's fine.
I think you would have had a better chance of getting her number had you guys actually talked while in the time that you were both employed there. I think the only reason why is, again, it's very unrealistic. Like, I feel like people need to move away from this idea that you can go from like never having spoken to a person to like I can get their number by the end of this conversation. You should be comfortable, like how did you take that rejection?
That is like bar
it
mentality.
It was a low chance. It was a low chance of success, but I was like, you know what? I don't want to leave without shooting my shot, and I don't think I made her
I want to
uncomfortable.
tell you what you did right there. Can I tell you what you did right? In my opinion, what you did right was waiting until you left to pop the question and doing it in such a forward manner with no like prior interaction. It was always going to be a coin flip, but like as far as the pressure that you put on that person who was then going to have to return to that workplace day in and day out, there is no pressure. That is kind of the general rule that I think that you and everyone should adopt is like if a person has to be there, you should exercise extreme caution, no pun intended. Like you should utilize extreme levels of caution in how you make someone feel in a place where they're going to have to return to like day in and day out. The gym is a place people pay to go and largely is dictated by geography. A person who feels uncomfortable at the gym, it is a really, really shitty thing for them to have to like cancel or move gyms because they feel like they've been put in an uncomfortable position.
Hold on.
You are likely going to like overlap with them a lot of the time if you work out on kind of similar schedules. And
I agree with that. I agree with all that. And I've followed that rule for my whole life, but most people end up dating in the workplace, and most people end up dating in these type of environments where that rule is going to actually be the thing that's broken in order to get that to happen.
But the thing that happens when you go to the workplace with the intent to find someone to date is you become known as the guy
that's
who's
not what
like
I'm saying.
hitting on you.
That's
no,
not,
no.
Yeah,
I'm not saying.
I'm trying to.
I'm just saying. Someone shoots their shot, and if they fail, now it's like your work with someone who shot their shot, and it could be awkward.
It's important to give.
If you're going to shoot your shot with someone that you work with on an ongoing basis, you should be really cautious about like following like social signals that would lead you to believe that that's more appropriate. Just like, we exchanged some glances.
That has led me to. But that has led me to never, like most people meet their partners, I believe, in the workplace, and that has led me to never ask anyone out in the workplace ever.
Wait, can I say? Here's how you.
No, you have to ask someone out in the workplace. You just told a story about how you asked someone out in the workplace. It was the last day.
It doesn't count. We're not. It's not the situation we're talking. That was the last day.
You didn't know. And it absolutely still counts. You don't know if people like met someone in the workplace and then they continue. Like I met my last girlfriend in the workplace, but we saw each other like 2 hours every week or two. It was like on a really, really limited basis. And it just like progressed from there in those like individual interactions to the point that we started like, having social interactions outside of work. But there's not anything to say that like everybody that meets someone at work is like going up to people at work and asking them on dates. It could totally be people who had interactions like the one you just referred to.
It's recenter. Something.
Sure.
Well, wait, really quick. Just building off the workplace thing, is that
of course again you're gonna make it continue. Go ahead.
What am I gonna make it like, Tom? Tell me.
I said you're gonna make it continue, but go ahead.
Really quick. It's just like there is a way to date somebody in the workplace, but it's almost like a misnomer because I don't think in almost any social circumstance there's going to be an opportunity for you again to have a short conversation with someone where you pop the question by the end of that conversation. So when you say how do I go up to somebody at the workplace, I would say you don't. If there's somebody who you're attracted to at your workplace, I would say first you need to try having regular conversations with them, try to become their friend first, and be completely fine with the possibility that like, hi, or like, hey, they might not reciprocate my physical attraction. So if we're just friends, if we're just coworkers, that's fine with me. I'd like to escalate it to a date. Hopefully, if we become close and I see that we're compatible, I can eventually ask them out. But you have to be more than okay with the idea that like this person may not be romantically interested in me. And the problem is that if you're just attracted to somebody and you just, you know, I have to ask them out, I have to date them, that doesn't leave very much room for you to be okay with the rejection, because you don't even have the pillow of a friendship to fall back on.
Just because you want to, no, just because, okay, sure, yes, you should build up to it. You should establish some kind of rapport, yes. But even in that makes it more risky. The fact that you're establishing the rapport now will taint the whole friendship. Now it makes the whole thing weird. That actually it increases risks rather than mitigate it.
Depends on the type of bond that you're
exactly.
building with them.
Exactly. So with what Portland said, it's like they ended up going outside of the workplace and doing stuff together, and that can happen, but you still have to ask somebody to go start doing something with you. Like you're still like there's still some breach of the coworker relationship that is made.
Well, I'm saying you need to establish a relationship beyond just a coworker. You need to
it's done after a lot of rapport building.
Yeah, if you build enough rapport that you would first identify this person like they're my friend first, not just my coworker, I would say you've moved past the realm of just being a coworker. And again, and now it's almost out. It's weird to even think of it as happening inside the workplace, because it sounds like you guys are friends now. You hang out outside of work. You see each other outside of work. And when you do ask them the question, it's not in the workplace. It would literally be, well, because we've been friends for the last 6 months, I feel like we have a mutual romantic attraction. I'm going to try to escalate it to a romantic engagement. And you might even ask them this question out like on it, like when you're just hanging out or when you're seeing them outside of work already.
Yeah, when there's a professional aspect to it, I think you do a lot of like feeling out of the chemistry before you shoot your shot, both for self-preservation and for the sake of like being professional and not making the other person feel uncomfortable. There were a lot of different women that came through the store that I was managing that were attractive, that were really charismatic and friendly, and wanted to use their attractiveness as like, you know, leverage to sell to single young men. I think that that's a pretty common thing in most industries. It's why we have like really attractive bartenders. It's why we have really attractive sales reps and things like the pharmaceutical industry. We like people respond really, really favorably to a pretty face, especially men. And knowing that, like, there's a lot of times where you're going to see like a smile and a little bit of a flirty disposition and maybe think like, oh, I should shoot my shot here. And I will tell you, like, I've done a lot of like considering and thinking like, no, this is probably not a clear enough sign of interest. Only in a couple of instances have I like shot my shot because I felt like there was enough rapport and enough safety there that they weren't going to go tell my boss, hey, I'm never coming back to the store because this guy's like making me uncomfortable.
It's true. And it can be very difficult. I'm never going to say that it's not, it can be very difficult to make the distinction between, is this kindness or is this affection? Or are they being kind to me because they want me to ask them out because maybe they're too shy to? But I don't know that anybody ever disagreed with that. Yeah.
Okay.
My only thing, Smeth, is like even like again, just like earlier, what like just your strategy that started this whole diatribe about the gym thing was that
strategy.
I don't know. Yeah, strategy. I feel like that was what started the gym thing. No.
I mean, I went like to it failed. It failed. I didn't do the thing that you're saying is bad. I didn't do that.
But you said I'm just saying, like, socially encouraged and not discouraged to like go up to a woman at the gym, offer to help them as a way to start a conversation with them. Like that was kind of the way that you framed the initial point. That was what I pushed back on. Launched us into the 45-minute conversation that Tom has tried to get off of like 3 times.
I can recenter this.
Well, hold on.
No, don't.
I just want to make my normative claim.
Oh my goodness!
What we've just been talking about. What's up? I don't understand.
It's nothing.
I'm just
whatever, because my normative, I don't feel like we ever really clarified like what people ought to do. We just said what they shouldn't do. But if I'm talking about what we ought to do, it's just really bizarre because I feel like, Smeth, the advice that you were giving is like incel factory advice. I'm serious.
No, I'm saying become more social.
be more social is good, but at first you were saying like,
Go to gym.
men are having to find ways to be more and more deceptive, and
No.
that deception, like teaching men to be more deceptive to get to women, like
Right,
women
don't do
are
that.
going, the more adaptively mistrustful women are going to have to become, because that goes both ways, right?
No,
Like, if
go
men
be
feel
more
like they have to
social. I didn't
become-
say. I did not say to be more deceptive. I said go to the gym. I didn't say deceive women. I said go meet more women.
Going up
I know,
to,
but
yeah,
you
this
said
is
go
like
to
where
the
I
the
didn't
gym
say
with
go
the
up
purpose
to
of
women. No,
meeting
I didn't
women.
say go up to women. I said go to a place where women exist. The chances go way
Right.
up. I didn't say deceive them. I didn't say go be creepy to them or stalk them. I just said be in a fucking building doing a thing that women are doing. You know?
Right, but what from there that followed into the discussion about like using like finding an excuse, quote unquote, to talk to certain women, and one of those excuses was like, oh, do you need some help or whatever? Is that not somewhat deceptive if you're just finding an excuse to talk to somebody so you can have like
No.
an in with them so you could date them?
No, that's not deceptive.
How is it not somewhat
Do you
deceptive?
wanna spot me? Or like that's not deceptive. It's like, oh, do you want to be gym friends now? Like that's an attempt to make gym friends.
Okay, Smeth, how about this? What if I'm like what if I'm there doing like leg day, but the girl that I've like noticed I've shared a couple of glances with, she's over there like by the dumbbells, she's doing curls. So I'm just like, fuck it, I'm gonna scuttle leg day, and I'm just gonna go over there and I'm gonna stand like 3 or 4 feet away from her. I'm gonna do my curls and I'm gonna kind of just like do whatever I can to spark up a conversation. Do you see how that would be like?
That would
do you
be
think
bad.
that would be manipulative behavior? Or just like a generally undesirable behavior?
Yeah.
Because
Deceptive. I just think it's deceptive.
No, I don't know if deceptive. It's stalking.
No, it's not stalking to ask somebody a leading question. I'm just saying
No,
it's a behavior
to like walk up next to someone without like just shoot your shot. Do you want to spot me? And then she says no. You walk away. And
But why are you asking that question? Are you asking that because
you
want to be
gym
spotted? Or are you
friends.
asking that?
I want to be
You
gym
want to
friends
build
with you.
rapport.
Yes, and build rapport. Don't like stand next to someone and like look at them and like try to be around them and then be like, hey, we're next to each other all the time. Wonder why that is. You know, that's weird. No, that's fucking stupid. Like, just try to build rapport. Okay, I can resend to this. Okay, we can bring this to another part of the conversation. Okay.
Sure.
So men do all of these things. Men have to navigate all these things, and that I think is their part of the transaction. So what are women doing?
Wait, what did you say as part of men's transaction, or like they're part of the transaction?
So men are having to navigate the whole conversation we just had. That's men are having to go to understand, I'll navigate all this shit, shoot their shot, fucking have status, fucking, you know, like impress women and like, you know, be the fucking guy with the fucking rodeo clown nose or whatever. And what is the thing that women are doing? Are they, they're like wearing makeup and
used to be it was that women were going to have your kids, they were going to stay home, take care of them, like there was an actual like transaction there. I can say the only thing today that like, yeah, I would bring my girlfriend to like work meetings or dinners and stuff like that because I felt like her being classy and hot and all of these other things was helpful for me in my career. And that's like that, but that's about it. That's like as good as it gets. Is yeah, she can help you in those ways, but not really much else. Yeah.
Well, I gave more than that. She at least like women like will have to, because of the expectations men have on women. Women will have to like put all this work into their appearance, like shave their fucking body hair all the time, and so all these fucking beauty products and bullshit.
Right, but it sounded like you were saying that you want something objective or concrete that you're actually getting out of that transaction, whereas they're getting a whole lot of like objective, concrete things.
That is what I want.
Yeah,
but
you
I'm
asked
just not.
what they
I'm
were
not
doing. I
want to admit
I
that
want to
they have to
explain
do
what
stuff.
they're doing, like more than just like throwing makeup on within the direct context of what we were just talking about. I have met like very, very small percentage of women in my time as a personal trainer wanted to go to the gym like as a recreational activity. They did it because they felt they had to, because they had to achieve a certain level of like physical fitness and attractiveness to like be socially acceptable. There is a huge level of societal pressure on women to look a certain way well beyond what they might
But he's asking, he's including that. He's saying besides being attractive, what value are they bringing to the man?
I think no, he said putting on makeup. I'm trying to point out that like there's a lot more of an investment and a consistent ongoing investment in women maintaining a level of
I'm saying
What?
I think
I
he's
understand.
including all of that in his point, and he's just saying what else, what other
Having
value
to-
do they bring?
Okay, having to maximize for attractiveness in that way
It sucks.
promotes and communicates a lot of other attractive characteristics too, like reliability, consistency, the like ability to set goals and hit them, and like stay consistent in healthy behaviors that would likely
I
be
guess with
conducive to
fitness.
things like having a really successful relationship.
Okay,
These
hold
are
on.
that-
Let me lay this out for you. Okay, so one, you got status. Okay, so lots of times this either means like popularity, large groups of friends, lots of money, nice things, nice cars, stuff like that. Okay, so he's
Yeah.
talking about like something concrete and objective that actually improves the other person's life, not outside of the relationship. So yes, the relationship matters, the chemistry matters, like having somebody to compete with, having somebody that betters you, that's all cool. But he's talking about like things that you actually get out of the relationship, whereas men value one thing, women value another. And women now today, before, women were going to make you very pretty kids, and they were going to take care of the kids, and they were going to cook, and they were going to clean, and all of these other things. And if that's not the case anymore, there's not this like objective value that one is getting out of the relationship. And I think most men are okay with that part. But
I don't think
I disagree.
Go ahead. I'd rather hear from you than hear from myself.
No, it's not that. It's that, like, to answer Smeth's question, this whole like, what are you gonna do for me? What benefits am I conferring? I just don't
General
even think
question.
it's a healthy attitude to. I know, but I don't even think it's to me not even the right question to ask. Again, like can I ask you, like, do you have any interest in speaking to a woman besides what they have to offer you?
Yeah.
Like, what's an example of this?
I don't know, just women I like.
well, that's why I'm saying I think most men are actually happy with this arrangement. Like, though women might get more out of it, I think men are like normally happy with that arrangement.
But you say women get more out of it, like status. You use the word status and you called it objective. Status is anything but objective.
I didn't
because
say status is objective. I mentioned things that status brings. I didn't. I said I
status
mentioned
does not necessarily, in the way that you're referring to it, status is as simple as like a person who has like a good title to their job, but doesn't really have any meaningful amount of like influence in the world. Like you could be like, in my instance, in my case, again, not to like harp back to anecdotal evidence, but like when I was a store manager, like in any position where you have like a vested amount of authority of any kind and project a level of confidence around that, that would be enough to confer status to a lot of people. But that status doesn't really mean fuck all, besides me having like a $40,000 a year income instead of the $35,000 a year income my employees had, and having more confidence than them because I like was in the role because I was a confident person. I didn't get the status. The status was something that I conferred. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. But I think that normally that's going to mean that like within that structure, you are making more money than everybody else there. You are more confident than everybody else there. You're going to have like the ability to be a leader. There's and these bring on a lot of other things and signal a lot of other things as well. That means that you're more likely. So women aren't only looking for status. They're also looking for like potential of status, which is why confidence and all of these other things matter as well, because you're more likely to gain that status later on in life as well.
Wait, I just kind of explained how women project the same thing through, like, by and large, through physical attractiveness and physical fitness, because that's like the arena that we're most used to viewing them in. But like they have the same capacity to project the same kinds of traits, but we don't value women who have like a strong leadership-based personality the same way that we value attractive women. Like as men,
I think we don't really. I don't think we value. We value a little bit physical fitness in women, but like we only value physical fitness in their ass and like nothing else. Like women with some shoulder muscle.
Like,
how that I don't think that makes
women's
any
societal
sense.
value.
Hold on, wait, hold on. So a woman staying like skinny, in shape, like having like tone, like those things matter across the board. Like having a flat stomach, like
no. What I'm saying, like flat stomach isn't necessarily the most healthy. That's what I'm saying. Like I think a lot of like women just try to say really skinny and stuff, and they're actually like kind of hurting themselves. And like it's not really they're not actually like being like not eating is not like I guess that shows like I guess that I've dated
hold
an
on,
anorexic girl.
wait, hold on, you're going off. you said fitness. We're talking about
Mhm.
fitness, okay? So when we're talking about fitness,
Right.
it's not
I was-
just
what
having
I
a
was-
big butt. It's also having a flat stomach. It's also staying fit and tone and all of these other things.
Yeah, but what
Yeah,
I was
and
saying
it
was
carries over into a lot of
true
other,
true
like,
fitness.
areas of life.
Just
People
what I was
need
what,
to-
what yeah, but what I was saying was true fitness isn't the thing that we're actually looking for in women often, as much as we are like a lot of like the ways that women can look that we find attractive aren't like just being like really skinny and like not working out and stuff like that we see that as attractive, and it's really not fit, and it's just.
But they use fitness
No,
to
no, no,
gain
no.
those things often.
I guess
Hold
I think you
hold
lose
on.
weight in the kitchen,
Oh,
not in the gym.
Hold on.
That's true, but
a
like
woman-
people's but like what you're saying is that even though it's incorrect, you can be really, really skinny or underweight or whatever, and you're saying you're not technically physically fit, but in the eye of the beholder, that doesn't literally matter, because if you have it in your head that like, oh, skinny equals fit, then in your mind you're like, I am valuing fitness here, right?
Yeah, but the thing is that Portland was saying was that it would like her body is proof of her like dedication or whatever, but really maybe she's just starving herself and she's got mental illness.
No, that's just silly. If you think that you can't distinguish between someone who is starving themselves and someone who is physically fit, both in terms of like general
saying men
appearance
are
on a
attracted to
broader
women that
level
starve
and
themselves.
in terms of their physical capacity, you're just being silly. A lot of people like to be able to engage in physical activities with their partners, like going on walks, going on hikes, doing things that require similar levels of like physical fitness, and they also want their partners to have similarly healthy lifestyles, so their children
Yeah.
will have similarly healthy socialization. So to say that like a woman could be valued equally on the attractiveness level by just starving herself versus the like having a dedicated fitness routine, I think you're just ignoring the fact that a dedicated fitness routine confers all, like it communicates all these other areas of proficiency, just like
sure,
a man's status.
Sure it does.
But what does that actually bring?
What-
It doesn't
but the-
actually bring anything. It doesn't actually
Yes,
like
it
give them
absolutely
man.
does. In the same way that status broadly attributes anything to a relationship, regardless of whether there's like a material substance behind it. You just pointed to and like specifically laid out the fact that status is like an amalgam, a broad umbrella term for all these different attributes that men would find or that women would find attractive in men. And I'm telling you that like we appropriate a lot of those ideas into fitness as the way that we like measure women's like dedication to themselves, their work ethic. We associate their ability to maintain a good, healthy state of physical fitness with all these other desirable attributes. So they
This
are
is not some norm.
contributing
This is a niche.
materially
This is a
valuable
niche way to judge women that like most men don't have, because most
It
women
doesn't matter
are
either
not
way. It
going to
doesn't
the gym.
No,
bring
it's a huge
anything.
proxy. I think
Most
all,
It doesn't-
all
no,
Portland is
no,
saying is
are
that
not
it's
going
like
to the gym.
it's a very easy proxy.
Yes, they're right that it's a proxy, but when we're talking about what does this normally bring, what is this like a signifier of that it will bring to the man that will give him some sort of like that actually something valuable that it gives him that
I
betters him
just laid
outside of the
if we're saying
relationship.
that if
It
I
means
don't
she
think
can
you
open
did.
the
You're
pickle
just
jar by
talking
herself.
about- Yes, exactly. Yes.
No
What-
bullshit. Listen, a woman that is consistent in her ability to take care of herself is likely going to be consistent in her ability to take care of at least her share of a home and of a family and of all of these things that are still going to be a responsibility that at the very least is mutual, if not like still slightly leaning in the woman's direction, because they're the one that's going to have to physically bear the children and take care of them in early infancy. Like these are things that are
Wait, yes,
directly related to
wait.
your physical fitness and that add tangible value to
Yes.
the relationship,
No,
obviously.
hold on. You're saying the same thing as me. Again, it's the last thing that you said. That's what we're asking you to
Because
talk
it's
about. When you're
valuable.
saying
Yeah, you're saying there's no value in it. And I'm saying that's silly.
no, hold on, stop. You are not talking about value. You're talking about things that can signify value. And then we're saying, and then the value at the end. And then when you get to the value at the end, you're like, yeah, she can have kids and take care of the house and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, but that doesn't happen as much anymore. That's not what we're talking about as much anymore. Now it is the man more so bringing that value that actually changes her life in a lot more ways than the way that her value is going to change his life.
If women, we all accept that women have a much more independent state of like income, viability, education, and like general ability to provide for themselves than they did 30, 40 years ago, right? So why would men be giving more to the transaction now when women, like those things that you just pointed to, matter much less to women now than they did 30 years ago because they can provide them themselves?
No, right. So the thing that your tone of voice, you know, listen to me.
Points because
Okay.
I can't even tell if you guys can hear me when you
can.
yell, wait, halfway through. Okay, so I will try not to do it to you. You try not to do it to me. Okay?
Yes. Okay.
Cool. Go ahead.
Well, that's why I wanted you to wait, because I was had it in
Wait,
my
can I bridge? Can I bridge what I think is the gap here?
Please.
Yeah, I think that what you're saying is that some people have it. If you view fitness as a proxy for all of those other characteristics, then you must have a warped perception of your understanding of fitness, because it doesn't necessarily follow that if you are in shape or whatever, that you have all of those other traits that people typically associate it with. In the same way that you can have a lot of money, and most people will typically be right that like, oh, money is a proxy for XYZ characteristic, but if you're just like a trust fund baby and you had money, then that was just granted to you or whatever. And that's an example of how it wasn't indicative of somebody's character or something that they earned. And it's not really that impression because it was just granted to you, right? I feel like Portland, what you're saying is that it's not possible to be physically fit without having all of those other characteristics, because somebody who is physically fit is somebody who is necessarily a dedicated person, somebody who is able to set a goal and reach it, right? Or no?
I'm saying they're highly correlated. Not that you're only going to find people with just like when you talk about monetary success, you could find someone who's just got like a really good job right now, but they're also a cokehead and they have no ability to save money. Like the appearance of having a really good, like the optics of having a really good job might confer some perception of financial competence, but the reality is that one does not necessarily equal the other. They're just likely to be correlated. Just like someone who's
we're talking about. We're talking about what you're talking about. We're talking about what value are they likely to bring, and you're saying, well, the fitness means that they're likely to bring X, Y, and Z that nobody freaking values. Nobody cares about those things.
Correlated, which means they are highly likely to possess those qualities if they have a very healthy regimen of physical fitness. That is just a simple fact. Yes, they're highly correlated.
What I want to say is that but men aren't valuing in women their what they can bring to their life and improve their life. They just care about their fucking body. And
Smeth?
No, shut up. I'm critiquing men. I'm saying that men need to start valuing women for more than just their fucking ass.
I think that they already do it to a large extent. I think they can in some ways be more superficial, but again, like we were talking about earlier, those just being physically attractive is not enough to overwhelm a lot of other negative qualities that a woman could have with her personality or life circumstances. Like no matter how hot some women are, it doesn't matter if you're from a low socioeconomic background, if you have a bunch of kids, if you're addicted to drugs, that's just making the likelihood that somebody's going to be with you just drop down exponentially.
Sure.
That was my only point. I just don't believe that men are as superficial as you're saying. I think they are superficial, and I think women are superficial, but not to the extent that you seem to believe.
Sure, we're talking in extremes. It's probably more in the middle, but
I would say generally men are like, the hotter the woman is, the more other things they're willing to overlook. I would say like the more status the guy has, the more problems the woman's willing to overlook. And I think that but the other things still matter. It's not as though we're saying the other things don't matter at all, and now they can just have like the crappiest personality and be a drug addict and a crackhead.
Well, can I ask you guys then, are you guys like this or no?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, no, yeah. I definitely feel like I didn't get married until I was 30 because I feel like there's a lot of, I've had a lot of failed compatibility tests, and I've never really felt like there's a need, like there are a lot of things that contribute to a really healthy relationship, and I don't think that you can learn all of that by just I'm not saying that you guys think that it's all strictly physical. You're going to be attracted to the person that you initiate a romantic pursuit of or a romantic connection with, obviously. But it's not the only thing that matters, and it certainly isn't enough to get me to overlook a lot of negative traits that detract from my personal life. I think
that Tom, would you overlook you wouldn't have you think that most men don't have just any deal breakers for women who are 8 of 10s, 9 of 10s, 10 of 10s?
No, I don't think that it's that they don't have any deal breakers. Again, I keep saying, like, it's not as though the other things don't matter at all. It's that they matter less. So, like, I've talked to you actually specifically about, like, I've had a number of girlfriends with BPD or other issues like that. Those issues I become more willing to deal with those. The hotter she is, the more I like her, the femininity, the like, how empathetic she is, like things like those still matter to me greatly, but they don't bring like what Smeth's talking about, where we're talking about like cars, houses, nicer dinners, like stuff like that. Like, they don't bring this concrete value into your life. They bring I don't want to say an emotional value, but kind of like, yeah, like something I value personally within that relationship, as far as our chemistry goes and as far as me wanting to be with her. But I don't get a whole lot out of that. That makes like my exterior world better, but it does make my internal world better.
That is just fascinating to me.
I have
That's very fascinating to me, because I can think of so many ways that my wife like materially improves my life by bringing these attributes that I was talking about before, the consistency and the dedication and the ambitiousness and stuff into our relationship, has made my life materially better in a fucking ton of different ways. I don't have to work as hard because she works really fucking hard, because she has like taken it upon herself to start a business, even though I was completely comfortable financially providing for us. I now don't have to worry about the fact that our business, the marijuana business, has hit pretty hard times economically because she is picking up the slack. I don't have to worry about where who's taking care of my kids when I go to work, and she doesn't have to worry about the same. Like, there's a lot of mutual exchange of service here, and I don't feel like I'm bringing something to the table that she's not.
Tom, okay, this is what I wanted to say before, what I forgot. Tom is not giving criticism of women at all right now. He's criticizing men. He's criticizing himself.
But I feel like you kind of are criticizing women when you're saying, I can't even point to like concrete things that women bring to the table in relationships. You guys are like struggling to find that in Portland, and I feel like
that's not what he's saying. He's not saying that they don't. He's saying that men are valuing like flippant, non-concrete things. Yes, men are valuing the wrong things. That's what he's saying. This is a feminist point. You guys are acting like we're trying to like say something is wrong with women, but we're saying that the men need to value women in better ways.
Yeah, like all of my relationships have turned out poorly. Almost all of them have ended up cheating on me or doing something freaking crazy. Like, I am a poor judge of women, but I do I know all of my friends and everybody I was on like the football team with and basketball teams with, and like everybody I work with, they're all similar in the way that they judge women and the types of women that they date. And it's normally like, yes, the hotter she is and the like better her body is and the bigger her butt is, like the more other things you're willing to overlook.
I've had that issue, but I've been getting a lot better at that, and for me, like, I'm not looking for I'm not looking for those things that improve my life, like materially. I'm looking for someone who just uniquely is compatible with me, like emotionally and intellectually, and that can put up with all my fucking bullshit, and I can put up with their bullshit.
That's something that I've always valued pretty highly, is that they're able to have like a conversation or a debate with me. They're able to engage with me intellectually. They're able to understand like the concepts and the stuff that I engage with and that I talk about and that I work in. Like, those things have always been insanely important to me as well.
Mutual sense of humor is a lot more important to me than like if it's like a if she has like slightly bigger tits or something. Like, there's baselines for everything. Obviously, we always like, just like the status thing, you're talking about status as though it's like this flat line where people either have it or they don't. Status can be, like I said, somebody with like a lot of swagger and a $40,000 a year income, or it can be somebody who's like the CEO of a company and has their entire life figured out, like in terms of the finances already. And both of them are going to have status. So it's an incredibly vague term that can confer a ton of value or almost none.
I don't think I'm doing that. I'm the one who brought up like the guy at the rodeo who's like not making a lot of money, but he's like the cool guy in town. Like, I don't think of it as this, like, you have to be the CEO or a lawyer to have status. I think there's a million ways to like have status, but it's still.
Yeah. But what is the guy at what is the rodeo winner whose status is entirely centered on that? like attribute, what is he bringing to the table of substance, like via this status label? Because you pointed to a lot of material things like cars and houses and financial security, but rodeo guy, he's got status and he doesn't have fuck all outside of it to bring to the table.
No, I mentioned this earlier. I think that he has popularity, he has friends, he has like social, social
that's
standing.
tangible, but women's value in the ways that I described it isn't. How is
that?
No,
it is. That's literally what I said. I said that like if I have a hot girlfriend, I'm bringing her to the business dinners. I'm bringing her around to like business meetings. Like, yes, she has like that social status that helps.
Rodeo guy is the trophy husband.
No, it's not the trophy husband. I think if you're trying to understand why some women can be attracted to like somebody who has like a high status job and a lot of money, but is also attracted to like a stoner, like rock star dude who's still living on his parents' couch, but he's physically attractive. It's because I don't think that I don't have the data or a survey in front of me, but when they polled women don't seem to differentiate too much between a man's status and his potential to have status in the future.
That's
like women will invest in that. Yeah.
Yeah, like confidence and other markers are going to be likelihood of future status. Yeah.
Okay, Tom, I don't want to feel like I'm like straw manning you, because it just felt like you said, and so I want you to like just correct me if I'm wrong here. It felt like you said status is this tangibly valuable thing that men bring to the table for their relationships with women. Women bring these like physical beauty and the attributes associated with that, which are intangible, like non-substantive, but socially valuable things. And so is that basically what your position is? Like, kind
of my issue with all of your responses is that we are speaking in generalities. We're speaking like on average, and normally status is going to be represented mostly by money more than anything else. Money, cars, houses, stuff like that. Most of the time, that is going to be
high
status.
level of physical fitness is going to most of the time correlate with all of those other desirable attributes that I brought up.
Why is it
but the majority of the time?
Why is it that women like will like look at like, I was watching a woman swiping on Tinder the other day, and like when it was a guy like in the gym like with like muscles, she's like, oh, it looks like a douchebag. Why is that a man that has fitness, you don't assume that he's got personal strength and he's going to really bring a lot to the table?
You do, but if you see the guy that like has a dozen gym selfies and his hair is gelled every time he goes there and stuff, he looks like a little bit of a superficial douche, not somebody who's there for the like dedication to fitness and health and like socially healthy behaviors, but someone who has like maybe a vanity problem. And that's not like universally true, but it's true.
Where women are so they care so much, they are forced to care so much about their fitness because of men's expectations on them. They're forced to care about their appearance. They're forced to have this vanity problem socially.
Wait, Smeth, are you genuinely asking why?
With it too, right? When women have like egregious lip fillers and cheek fillers and really, really fucking like extremely synthetic looking procedures done to them and stuff, like we scrutinize them the same way that we do like gym douches who look like they've gone a little too far on their vanity. We do the same thing with like people who run too far in either direction.
Sure.
Yeah, I thought we said way earlier in the conversation that men who are in the gym like for hours and hours trying to like build up this, again, like a rippling six-pack, huge physique, really what they don't realize is that they're pandering more to like male gaze type standards, and that like I wouldn't be surprised if a woman would see a dude, a like ripped huge dude in the gym and be like, this dude looks like a douche, like a roided up douchebag, because again, those types of things mostly appeal to other men, and women don't like most women, yes, want somebody who's physically fit, but there comes a point where again, like just the appearance of having like the gym jock look, like they're already going to be like stereotyping them as like, this looks like a jock, this looks like a dude who's fucking like roided out. It's not attractive to most women.
Not even just that, but women have like a much bigger variety of body types that they're attracted to, and the way that they see you and how attracted to you they are changes based on like your personality, your confidence, how funny you are. Like those things can change pretty drastically the more you interact with them.
And the way you frame yourself. So like the exact same person looking the exact same way will be perceived completely differently if they're like taking a gym selfie, flexing in the mirror in the middle of the workout floor, versus if they're like posting a video of them like maxing out their bench press and a person spotting them or something like that. And it's just like celebrating the achievement. Like there's a hugely different reaction when someone is like just engaging in an activity versus like trying to showcase themselves in a way that's going to invite scrutiny and notions of vanity.
Yeah, we have like the traditionally good-looking guy like Fabio or Hassan or something like that, but so many women are attracted to like bald dudes and dad bods and like all sorts of different things. There is such a like huge variety of things that women are attracted to, whereas like men, we can pretty easily pin down like a stereotypical woman that most men are going to find attractive.
Sure. I think that there's something to be said though about the fact that like the same characteristics seem to be like broadly appealing coming from men, even if it's not like manifesting in physical fitness. A guy with a dad bod and stuff is usually like the people who find him appealing are the ones who find like, you know, authority and like leadership and that, you know, taking care of a family before taking care of yourself. Like they correspond to the same kind of behaviors, but like viewed through a different lens by a different group of people. So it's still the same kind of key attributes though.
Yep.
And women just have a lot narrower lens in which to like project their appeal, unfortunately, and a lot less societal pressure to like a woman who's out of shape and has like a mom bod is considered like a self-deprecating way for women to refer to themselves. Like women refer to themselves as having a mom bod, and it's like a form of self kind of fucking deprecation, like make self-mockery. And men have a dad bod. It's like viewed as a sexy subcategory of all the different potential sexy men's bodies out there. So it's just like we force women through a really, really narrow lens of what's acceptable. We give them a really narrow lens, set of options to project that value. We don't look at a woman who's chubby and stuff and go like, oh man, I bet she's like really dedicated to fucking her mental capacity though. I bet she's really smart. Probably reads 10 books a month. Like we don't fucking do that.
Yeah. Yeah, well, so I wish we like said this to young men more often, because I like early on, I've had girlfriends who have told me they didn't find me attractive at all at first. Like like lots of people talk about this stat that says that women within the first 2 seconds know whether or not they're going to want to sleep with you. But I've literally had girlfriends who said like, I didn't find you attractive until you started talking. I've had women in my audience who tell me I didn't find you attractive until I heard you start talking. Like you seem like a douchebag until you actually like start talking, and then all of a sudden you seem attractive. And also, so yes, you can change how attractive you are. And lots of these incel guys and these red pill guys, they all like think of this, you know, Fabio type guy with the big muscles and the, you know, he's got to be 6'3" and all this other crap. But yeah, you can change how attractive you are based on your personality. And then on top of that, you have such a wide range. You don't have to look like Fabio or Hassan. Like you can be like a dad bod or a bald dude. You can be a skinny, wiry guy who plays in a band. Like there's just such a wide variety of
the thing about that. Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
The thing about that is it's just so unclear to men though, like what those are. Where like women have like a clear like idea of like what I gotta look like to get the guys and stuff. With guys, it's because women don't really communicate that outward. Like they're not gonna tell you how to get them. You know, like I don't think they're as confused. Like as like you know, like people don't know people say women don't know what they want. I think a lot of women are either they do know what they want and they're not going to say it, or they're repressing it because to be forthcoming about that would would diminish their locus of power they're giving in their gender role as being the selective the vetter of men.
I think Tom was just illustrating that some women don't know what they want until they have it right in front of them. Like if he was saying that he was perceived as unattractive to like a what ended up being a future girlfriend, doesn't that go to show that she was like, oh, I didn't view you as somebody who I would have typically gone for, but then I got to know you and my perception of your attractiveness changed greatly based off that.
Yeah, this like directly speaks to what we were talking about earlier, where like the barrier to entry for men can be overcome really easily with just like a tiny shred of charisma and a little bit of personality, because most women will tell you like they have certain requirements, physical or professional or both, and the vast majority of those requirements go right out the fucking window as soon as they meet someone they like, someone that has enough personality to get their attention. I'm fucking 5'7". I've been told by women that I dated that were taller than me that I don't seem short. What the fuck does that mean other than like you're really confident and you just like present yourself in a really like big way, just like as a big personality? It's a fucking weird thing to hear, but trust me, like I think that there's a lot of the barriers are mental, and you're asking women like be more outward and more forthcoming with what you want, but then you're saying, no, you're telling me the wrong things. Tell me how to like bypass all of these surface level criteria and like be charming anyways, because most of the time that's still possible, even if you're not like 6 foot and make 150 grand. A tiny bit of personality and just like the right opportunity goes a really long way.
Well, there's also like when we talk about men not knowing what it is that women want, it's not really, I don't think, as much that they don't know what they want. I think it's also that like women's sexuality is like stigmatized pretty heavily, and women sexualizing men, watching porn, like being overtly attracted to men, objectifying them. I have a feminist in my community who constantly says feminism is when men and women are both objectified at the same rate. Like that is like a huge issue for women to actually constantly talk about what it is they like about men, and like, you know, catcall men and talk about men in a very sexual manner. And so I think it's harder for us to know what it is that they like, because them telling us what they like is pretty heavily stigmatized.
Yeah. I think the reason I gave for that is I think they're given a double-edged sword with power, where if you withhold that, it gives you a certain leverage, but like withholding that also enslaves you to the gender role.
So it's like a lose-lose for them, but you seem to think that they have like the majority of the power and are the ones who need to change their behaviors to be more in line with like communicating with men in a healthier way. What you perceive to be a healthier
lose-lose. That was a win-lose. One is like
double-edged
withholding the power.
Lose-lose, okay? I don't know if you've ever tried to hold one. It's the whole point of the expression is that you can't, because both ends are bad.
Yeah, I think
I thought it was because that's not how what double-edged sword means. Both double-edged, like, so this is the blade. Here's the handle. Here's the handle. Here's the handle. This end of the blade is sharp, and this end of the blade is sharp. So you can cut that way, and you can cut this way, and you can cut yourself, and you can also cut them. That's what it doesn't mean that the handle is bladed.
A double-edged sword is like the same as a catch-22, where like you have good on one side and bad on the other side.
No, a catch-22 means that like there's no way to cleanly win the situation. Like there's always a bad outcome attached to the good outcome. That's the same thing. Yeah.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Yes, exactly.
I thought it just referred to a sword that had 2 sharpened edges. I could be wrong. I have no fucking clue. Well, but I like the whole fucking point of that.
A double-edged sword isn't something you want.
Yeah, it has pros and cons. That's it.
Yeah, if you look up Google double-edged sword, it says it means that it has negative effects as well as positive effects. So he was using it correctly, yes. But I have a ton of swords back
I may have invoked the visual representation of it incorrectly. Yes, a double-edged sword, just like a catch-22, is a no-win situation. It is a situation where you will fundamentally like damage yourself, like if you try to like achieve some kind of end.
Yeah, so he's saying that they will hold power in one hand by not letting people know what it is that they want, but also it's harder for people to then know what they want.
It's like wearing makeup.
Everyone watching know
wearing
what a
makeup
double-edged sword is.
What?
I said, does everyone watching and does everyone's chat now know what a double-edged sword is now that we just explained it?
Yeah, they're now everybody fucking
Truly, I think we're all on the same page. I still don't quite understand what Smeth's version looks like.
Okay, so wearing makeup will
really
improve. Wearing makeup will fucking improve your life if you're a woman, huh? Because like it'll make you get you're gonna do better in your job interview. It'll get you more sexual partners. It'll make you more appealing to people. But wearing makeup now, by virtue of you wearing makeup, you make all women look more ugly by putting on a fake face. And so that's a double-edged sword. Now all women have to wear makeup. The more makeup women wear, the more other women have to wear makeup. It's the same thing. So yeah, I think that like all women wearing makeup gives them a privilege, but it also enslaves them to the makeup. So I think it is they're still having like this elevated like beauty thing. We're treating them like they're so fucking beautiful, but it's all fake, and then it sucks to have to put on makeup every day.
I don't think so. I mean, as somebody who wears makeup daily or whatever, I enjoy it, but like, yeah, obviously, like anything, you can what? Tom's shaking his head. What the fuck is this? What?
I'm sorry,
it's
it
possible that
looks
some
like it
women enjoy wearing
sucks,
makeup?
dude. The girls that I dated having to get up earlier to shower, do their hair, put on makeup, paint their nails, like shave their legs, all of that
No.
crap. Hell no, dude. I get out of bed, I shower the night before, and then I get out of bed and I'm ready to go, dude.
The
I don't
pressure
wanna
is
have
what
to do all
sucks.
that.
I think to women, the pressure is what's frustrating. Is that like that she
Mhm.
can't just go into work one day with that she feel like if she feels like wearing makeup, putting it on, that can be a fun activity to do. It can feel nice to look nice or whatever.
Mhm.
But the downside to that is if you have
The
a
When you
professional
don't wear makeup,
expectation
they
that
treat you like something fucking horrible must have happened to you.
yeah, I feel like that's the bigger downside
Show
of
up
it. I don't
without
really hear
makeup
women
one day.
talking about like, oh, I don't want to. Yeah, it's annoying for me to have to apply makeup. Like, I know plenty of women who have like professional working jobs. It's not that they wear none, but like they genuinely find it annoying, like you're saying, and they wear so minimal that it literally takes them just like 5 minutes.
Mhm.
I think just the pressure is what sucks. It's not the action of doing it or not doing it.
We were talking about this the other day where there was the Jordan Peterson comment about like, women wear makeup to seduce men. And like, obviously that's
Oh,
why
yeah.
makeup was originally inducted into like social norms, was because it was
Right.
supposed to make women look more attractive. But eventually
Mhm.
it became a social norm and an expectation to where if a woman shows up to work without makeup, it's like her showing up naked. Like it's like unprofessional to show up to work without makeup on.
I feel
I think what people are refusing to acknowledge, though, is that the dynamics of that expectation have changed a little bit and evolved to be more than just, like the sole purpose of makeup. Like, I don't doubt that, again, like that was the reason that it was created. But now there's so many examples of women wearing different styles of makeup that definitely don't appeal to conventional standards of beauty, and they must simply do it because they enjoy it. But Jordan Peterson in that quote or whatever, he's like, the only reason a woman could be wearing makeup is to attract someone. And I'm thinking like, well, look
I don't
at
think
women
that's
who
what he
wear
was
like
saying.
goth makeup.
I think he was saying
You
that
know?
that's
Yeah,
going to be
even
the
men that
outcome
wear,
one way or
like,
the other,
eyeliner.
because he was talking about segregating workplaces. And so he was saying that one way or the other, it's going to be attractive to men. It's going to be seductive to men. And so one way or the other, you're bringing something very sexual to the workplace. Not that like it was necessarily that they're all trying to seduce men, but that's going to be the outcome
Well,
either
he
way.
was making that assumption, but I'm saying like again, there's plenty of
So-
different examples of like makeup styles that just aren't attractive to men,
Mhm.
and women continue to do them anyway, like goth makeup.
That's
in
attractive to
general.
men. It's attractive to men.
I'm not talking about like e-girl makeup. I'm talking about like proper goth. Like she paints her face white and she shaves off her
Mhm.
eyebrows and she wears like almost like Kiss style. Like Kiss is not goth, but you know what I mean. Something that's literally that exaggerated. That is like
she's
true goth
she's like
makeup.
breaking out, whatever. It's like you're not going to see any of that. You're going to see this like pristine, like doll looking like face. It'll cover all of your blemishes. I think
I think we
that
would
it
still
all-
consider that unprofessional, though.
Sure.
Yeah, true.
I do you agree that it's a double-edged sword then, that wearing makeup will improve your life, but it in large all women wearing makeup makes all women's lives worse?
I mean, it
I'm not
sounds
gonna-
like a single woman wearing makeup on a regular basis puts a level of pressure on her to continue doing it, or like be
Mhm.
subject to the social scrutiny and just like the snide comments and stuff of, "Oh my God, are you okay? Like, hey, is everything all right? You look
Well-
really tired today."
well,
That
not
Like
kind
only
of
that-
shit.
Pokimane
not only
putting
that,
out
but a
picture of
woman-
her without makeup.
A woman that doesn't wear makeup will have negative effects in her life, and if a woman that wears makeup, the women around her in her life will look uglier because she wears makeup every day.
Wait, but you make it sound like they objectively look uglier. Is it that, or is it that the social bias now favors women that wear makeup, and it's actually men who are contributing to this reinforcement when they reward women for wearing makeup and punish them for not
No,
doing
I think
that?
Men
women.
and
No,
women,
no,
because women will
no,
reinforce that feeling amongst
I think
others.
women are
Both.
trying. Women that wear makeup are trying to look younger, and they're trying to remove all their blemishes. And there's like all humans are a little bit ugly, and you're trying to make yourself look perfect and young and beautiful and all that shit when you wear makeup.
Right, but this
Wait,
is
Smith,
like
hold on,
equally-
that
this
doesn't answer
pressure
the
comes
question.
equally from other women too. This is the classic, like, no man is ever going to give you shit for wearing the same dress twice in a week, but every other fucking woman in your social group will mention it. Like, this is the same kind of pressure that like
Sure.
women subject each other to in kind of
Sure.
a vicious cycle
Yeah,
where
women
like
are just as
it's-
sexist as men.
Sure,
Yeah,
but if
yeah,
men
they're
weren't
not
attracted to these
definitively
things,
more
they wouldn't
sexist.
wear them. Like, that's the whole point, is that if men weren't attracted to them, it would just fade out of social norms altogether.
What about men that wear makeup and are like heterosexual and wear like things like eyeliner and stuff to appeal to like that goth aesthetic? And I mean, do you think that they strictly do it to be more physically attractive? And if there weren't like physical factors, they would just not do it?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
So
There
why is
are
it
examples of
distinctly
men. I
different when
think
men do it versus women?
Because
think
one
it's
is
just
a
their-
social norm and the other one's like heavily
I think
stigmatized.
I think
but-
in the goth sphere where they are, that is going to make them more successful at getting partners and stuff.
Right. It's
Okay,
going
wait.
to. It's
I have
going
an
to put
example
you
of this.
into
Can
your
I ask
niche.
you guys, like, why, like, when you see men wearing nail polish, what are your thoughts on that? Anyone?
I mean, like, yeah, I know from this is why I find the like, oh, it's to appeal to women or like to appeal to sexual partners thing kind of like hard to just call a universal rule, because I remember really distinctly just a couple of guys that were super highly dressed up in like goth aesthetic with makeup and nail polish and all of that in my like middle school, and there wasn't really any like female population that was gravitating towards that. There weren't like any real goth girl groups at the time, and it feels like they were doing it again like at their own expense socially and getting scrutinized for it a lot and getting basically no benefit. It was
High
purely
schoolers are not tuned into like they're not high schoolers are the worst possible example for
You're
people who are
tripped up on the wrong part
tuned
of
into
that.
what the other sexual partner other sexual companions are interested in.
Hold on.
Teenage boys don't know what teenage girls
Wait,
want.
wait,
Teenage
wait.
girls don't want.
Hold on. It doesn't matter either way. So the point I made earlier was not that all women wear makeup to seduce men. It was that was the original utility in makeup, and then it became normalized over time to where now it's an expectation for everybody, and now women just wear makeup because now it's just a social norm and an expectation of them. But if men were never attracted to makeup in the first place, it would never have become a social norm, because even back
yeah,
then
because
men
it would
were
never
wearing
have been
makeup.
like culturally commodified the way it is.
Exactly. And so that's kind of my point, is if men weren't attracted to it, women wouldn't wear it at the same rate that they do now. Just like back then, men used to wear makeup as well, but it faded away over time because it wasn't an important thing.
What's
Yeah,
an
well,
example
that
of something
gets
that
kind of a
men do
weird-
today? Well, what's an example of something that men do today that you feel like they're unduly pressured to do, that if it didn't attract women, they wouldn't? In terms of altering their physical appearance.
Shaving, working out, dressing up.
Sure, but with men, it's not just men have to be basically like slaves to like so. Okay, I believe a lot of men just kind of go into careers that they genuinely hate, and they know that they hate them, but they I am only gonna get that family, and I'm only gonna get happiness if I just grind myself to the bone. I know it sucks, and I know I fucking hate work, and I hate my life every day, and I'm just gonna keep going because I need to fucking get my bank account up so I can fucking support a family and attract a wife that's gonna stay with me and love me. I think that's the reality for men.
Women have that exact same pressure, except for they have to do it so they're not beholden to a man to provide those things for them. Like modern women have the exact same pressures to work jobs they hate and grind up the fucking corporate bullshit. They don't. My wife was a fucking restaurant manager when I met her. She's a college graduate. You think she was doing that because she wanted to? No, women have the exact same need to be independent from men because they have the monetary capability of providing for themselves now. They have the exact same social pressure.
That's a different pressure. No, that's not the exact same. That's
totally
a different social.
Yes.
That's a social pressure to be self-sufficient. Because if men had the pressure to be self-sufficient, they wouldn't be grinding themselves to the bone and doing shit they don't want to do. They would just do something simple, whatever that makes them happy.
Men
and
have
a
a
nice,
social
decent
pressure
life.
to be breadwinners. Men have social pressure to be head of household. Men have social pressure to make more money, have more status. So yes, women do those things as well, but you keep using like your personal experiences as like, this is what we're talking about. No, we're talking about generalities and social norms.
You're appealing to out-of-date generalities and saying that they still are like widely and generally applicable today. And there are enormous sociological differences in the way that the sexual marketplace interacts with like our personal status quo and like the status quo between men and women, that it has never is completely unprecedented in the way that we organize our society around like these hierarchical roles. Okay, women want to be able to provide for themselves and to be able to like exist without a breadwinner. So the idea that like women performing that role is increasing the social pressure on men to be breadwinners, or that it hasn't significantly
it actually does increase
eroded that.
It does increase it because women still want men that make more money, so that means men have to work even fucking harder. But men don't have the social you're interrupting me like you told me not to. Men don't have the social pressure to not be dependent on a breadwinner. That would be such a nice social pressure compared to the social pressure to out earn the women that are earning, so that they don't have the social pressure to like have to fucking be a slave to a breadwinner.
But couldn't
the social pressure to be the breadwinner and earn the most money has declined significantly with the alignment of more comparable incomes between the men and women in relationships, and it will continue to do so as fewer and fewer women are beholden to the archetype of men needing to be the breadwinner. The social pressure is shifting and has clearly alleviated on that front, and you're acting like it's a static state of affairs. You're just how could it not how could the pressure to be a breadwinner for men not have been socially alleviated by women earning their own income?
Because
now
women still want men that make more money than them.
By and large, way less than it was important. Statistically, it was prioritized much higher.
So it's basically the same. Data. So it used to be that men had to. It used to be that men had to earn all the money, and now it doesn't even matter. Women are earning plenty of money, but women still want men that earn more money. So basically, you're in the same place. You still have to earn a shit ton of money to out earn women so that they'll fucking
wait.
No, wait, hold
on. Hold
on, please. Okay, so we're talking about different things. Being self-sufficient is one. So like I can give a personal example. My last girlfriend had a job where she was successful. She had her own career, but she still wanted a man who made more money than her and was able to provide if she ever got pregnant and then had to stay home for a while and maybe wasn't able to invest as much time into her career. When men also invest way more time and effort into their careers. Women have much more well-rounded lives. They request off for more, and they request off for different things like anniversaries, birthdays, because they care about a bunch of other things. Whereas men are less likely to have as many friends because they do dedicate more time to their job. On top of that, it's only like 4% of relationships where the woman makes more than the man. If nobody cared about this as much, it would be like 50-50 or something like that. But it's not, because it's still a huge priority in relationships and for women to find status. And status is most likely going to be represented by a career or money or stuff like that.
The point isn't that there isn't still a social pressure. It is that they are exceedingly lower social pressures on men's income than there were even 20 or 30 years ago. And there's no reason to assume that those trends are going to alleviate as women continue to make more money.
Okay, I don't agree. So let's recenter this. Hold on. It doesn't matter. Let's recenter this because that
I'll trust you.
We all agree. As long as like you're not saying that it's not a social pressure anymore, because that's all his point was. That's all my point was, is that men still have this social pressure to find a career so that they can be a provider. That doesn't mean that that's always going to be the case.
Significantly eroded by the change in our socioeconomic conditions relative to between men and women. Not that there was no pressure at all, but that there was significantly less pressure, and that men probably don't have any more pressure to be breadwinners than women do to be able to support themselves, because women are typically in the modern era are socialized to have careers so they don't have to be dependent on men. That is a social pressure that the current generation has fucking impressed upon them. It's absolutely the case that we socialize women to be more independent now than we did 30 years ago when we were telling them you need to find a nice man and settle down. So these social pressures,
that comparing these two things are so drastically different, where you're talking about one person just being able. One person is just being able to provide for themselves, whereas the other person has to make enough money to provide for numerous people. Maybe himself, the wife, children. It's a different type of pressure. It's completely different. I can easily make enough money to provide for myself. I can't easily make money to provide for numerous people.
Wait a minute. Like, that's just obviously the person who produces and is more likely to be left with the child if the man is no longer part of the relationship, has significant pressure to be a breadwinner and to be able to like extend that capacity beyond their childbearing years and like work a career. Women are left in positions of single motherhood at a dramatically higher rate than they ever were at any point during human history. And those people are fucking breadwinners, okay? They have a tremendous amount of social pressure to be breadwinners, and they have a greater capacity to be now because they have a greater capacity to provide for themselves. So
you're talking every time you say social pressure, Portland, you're wrong. What you're really talking is you're talking about material pressure. We're talking about social pressure.
Material pressure doesn't exist when you're born. Material pressure is
when
stuff
you have
that
a kid.
happens
It
after
exists
you're
when you have a
socialized.
it exists when you have a kid, or you need to provide for somebody, or something like that, or you need to be able to sustain yourself. That's a material pressure. Men have a social pressure.
You're being socialized to be aware of those pressures as a woman at a greater capacity in a much earlier age, because you're not being told like all you have to do is settle down with a nice man when you get out of fucking high school. Okay, women are being socialized differently because of material differences in their conditions that we've observed are leaving them in bad outcomes where they can't support themselves or their children. That's why the social pressure has changed, and it's exerted at a much earlier age than when it actually becomes a material problem.
Yeah, women are educated about the material reality and encouraged to support themselves.
Yes, the point is that one way or
it.
the other, all of us are going to be encouraged to be able to support ourselves, and not all of us are encouraged to be able to support other people. Like nobody's saying like make sure you make enough money so that when you're an only a single parent mother, you're going to be able to provide for you and your kid. Nobody says that, but they do say
this is wait hold on. This is the way I see it. The way the dilemma works for me, Smeth. Okay, so like, and I'm not trying to earn a shit ton of money, so I'm failing at this dilemma. But the way I see it, a woman that's making a lot of money is probably just like the way women evaluate men. I've seen she's probably like going to be a great partner. She's probably determined. She's got these values that I'm gonna have dearly. And if I want to date that woman that's got a decent career, that's got some motivation and shit, she's gonna most likely, unless she's one of the 4%, she's gonna most likely want me to make more money than her. So I have to out-earn this woman that's got all these, like, so to get the woman that's driven and has all these values that I'm going to share, I'm going to have to out-earn her. So I'm going to have to grind, just to take the job. I hate it. I fucking work every day. That's the life I would have to live if I wanted that, if it was the thing I was focused on.
This is the biggest contention that I have with your argument, is that you make it sound like this pressure is coming solely from women, but if you can acknowledge that there are ways that like women can reinforce and often do reinforce the social pressure for other women to conform to societal beauty standards of like wearing makeup and clothes and stuff like that. Would you also acknowledge that men are also contributing to this, like holding other men to the standard by accepting their role as a breadwinner in a relationship?
I agree, but I think both of those. I think both of those are due to the fact that they are competing with each other for the opposite sex. Women are holding each other to a certain standard because they're competing with each other for men. Men are holding each other to a certain standard because they're competing with each other for women. And so, yeah, like you're only doing good in relation to how everybody else around you is doing.
I very much enjoyed this conversation, but there's no end in sight, and I have to go take care of 2 small children. So I appreciated interacting with all of you. Hope that your chat is not rebelling too hard. They don't seem to like me, but I love all of them, and I love all three of you.
They would like, some of them like you.
Some of them like me. Some of them legitimately don't think I'm a real person. They're like, think I'm a Fed or an AI collaboration of a bunch of soy ideals. So
are you?
I appreciate you guys.
Are you not?
Yeah, well, I'm not outwardly. I haven't done the big face reveal yet. This looks like my real face, but apparently, like, if I peel this back, circuit board. So
I totally expected your face to come off when you did that just now.
Yeah, it would have been pretty cool. But unfortunately, I lack the technology. I appreciate you guys, though. It was really fun. I would love to talk to any one of you or all three of you again about this or any other subject. We could definitely set something up. So thanks for having me.
Have a good night.
Night, Portland.
So to conclude,
I win.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I
Gather your thoughts, Smeth. Unpack your adjectives. How do you feel?
I'm trying.
Men can't talk about their feelings.
I want
As we're
to
seeing.
be. It's very easy to be critical of men. And I
I
think
know, I'm
that
really good at it.
yeah, we're all good at it. But it's just so hard to be critical of women without it getting turned back to men. But it's true that what we're talking about is a dynamic between men and women. It's a relationship. It's a cycle. It's an arrow goes here and then it goes. It's like a recycling sign. It goes both ways.
Mhm.
So no matter if you criticize women, there is also a criticism of men to be made, and if you criticize men, there's also a criticism of women to be made. But every time you focus on men, we kind of get happy sticking there, and every time we focus on women, we need to bring it back to men.
Yes, we have to say men,
Do you
but men
understand why
do
that
this.
is?
What?
Because misogyny is more common.
Not just misogyny,
True.
but like who has run this world historically?
Women.
Yeah, right. Women rule the world. No,
Patriarchy
I would say
only
that
exists because of social pressure that women put on men.
you really think that?
Well, kind of, not really, but yes, somewhat.
Damn.
I think that people
Okay, I wish I
overly,
didn't have to go.
I think people overly simplify what patriarchy is as though it's this like controlling mechanism that men put into place to control women. Whereas in reality, I think men and women naturally fell into these roles and then over exaggerated the difference between the two to where they grew farther and farther apart. Where instead, like there's an equal medium or an even medium. I don't know, but there's a medium somewhere, one of those things so that, where we would all actually like be best off.
Well,
Yeah,
I know
I
our next debate topic, Tom. Damn. Okay.
Let's go.
I wish it wasn't ended here, but next time we'll definitely debate that one.
I stream pretty consistently, so anytime you want to talk, although I have the standard that you have to have a camera if you want to talk to me. So
God damn it. I was about to say I never stream consistently and I never have my camera on because I have not set anything up yet, but I barely got my PC.
I don't know. I hear you on Destiny's channel pretty consistently. So
Because all I have to
you
do
got
is open up my
time to come.
phone and go into his room because I have perms to his Discord. That's it. I don't have to actually have my cam on or anything.
I'm just kidding. I will invite you to my Discord. Everybody I give the streamer role automatically has perms to jump into my live. So
Hell yeah. Oh yeah.
you can jump in anytime.
Cool. Well, it's nice talking to you guys. I think we understand everything now, and it's all clear.
Yeah, sexual market discourse complete. That's it. Final word.
I won.
There will never be another single debate over this. It's solved.
Yeah, I think this was a unique debate that wasn't the normal one. So I think that's good. So
yeah, I agree. All right. Good night, guys.
good night.
Thanks. Later.
Bye.
Later. All right. Now I'm stuck with you fuckers. Tomorrow at 8 p.m. EST, I will be speaking with Tuna Chip about autogynephilia, relating to my recent video. And I'm gonna have a similar conversation with Will and his channel on Sunday at 3 p.m. EST. So I'll see you there for those. Smeth out. That was your dose of smethamphetamine. See you tomorrow.